sketch because I've seen that sketch, the whole thing. But it's also like, it hurts because you're like, oh God, men are like, how do we think we're so strong and we are so not?
Well, it's basically that's what they're pointing to is the catch-22 of society and the expectations. And maybe it's changing, but I think for generations, the expectations of being strong and not being vulnerable and not talking about your feelings, when in reality, that's exactly how we make friendships. It's basically through shared experiences and shared like vulnerability of opening up, right?
Yeah.
And so the fact of male isolation, that because you feel like you don't have the emotional toolkit to connect with other men or women, but like, and then the downfall of that is that you don't have friends. And then it's not just a personal problem, right? Because there is all these different studies as far as what it actually does to your health through like having isolation does to your health. It's also a societal problem because more and more mental health specialists are saying that isolation is what's leading to more violence.
Yeah.
So it's everybody's problem that you guys can't make friends.
Ah, darn it. I have friends. I don't want to attack anyone. I don't want to storm the Capitol. No, I mean, that totally makes sense. I get that. And I don't disagree with that. And, I think it goes back to a question of, not even some men don't know how to share those experiences, period. Like they've never been taught to do that. It's not even a matter of feeling vulnerable. They truly have just never been told that these are feelings that need to be shared with others. And I say that word need. We need to share those feelings with other people. And fine, if you can't make a friend, then go to therapy. And I'm not saying that also to be a jerk. I'm in therapy. It's a good thing. But like these feelings you feel, men out there, they need to be shared with other people. And I guarantee, and don't just do it when you're drinking with your buddies. Because then it gets weird. Because then you just tell each other you love each other all the time. It gets annoying. Trust me, I've been that guy. I
just love you so much, man. I just don't know what to do without you.
I get aggressively positive, not in like a violent way, but like I'll get up in your face and like point my finger and be like, you know how awesome you are? You are awesome. And then I get really, it just gets bad. So I've learned to dial that back and turn it into like maybe like a good text or a good email, or just if I see someone to be like, hey, you're great. And then I walk away and then I don't allow them to compliment me back because I can't take a compliment. Because I'm a man.
I like your beard.
Shut up. I'm leaving right now.
But it's interesting because I mean, apparently this is more of a man thing than a general population thing. But again, in the general population, this is something that is affecting a lot of people apparently. And I think I want to get into some of the reasons why. Because we're going to talk about this for like basically the whole hour.
Heck yeah. We're talking about our feelings.
We're talking about friendship because it's really important. And I think this also plays into a recurring theme that we want to talk about this month, which is National Suicide Prevention Month. And the things that can go into that is strong friendships and feeling connected and not being isolated. But it's also, as the giver of friendship, remembering to check in on people.
Yes, absolutely.
And not just have that feeling as far as like, well, maybe they don't think I'm their friend. And so I'm going to not put myself out there and offer my friendship because that might make me look like the weirdo.
I don't want to be a bother.
Exactly.
Yep.
But another study, which we're going to talk about when we come back from the break, shows you should probably just reach out.
Yeah, I probably should.
You probably should just reach out, Greg.
Good God.
All right. Well, this is As Goes Wisconsin with Kristin, Brey, and Greg Bach, and we'll be back after the break.
It's me and you, boy. And as the years go by, a friendship will never die. You're gonna see it's our destiny. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me.
The greatest radio show ever could be your greatest advertising investment ever. Partner with the Devil's Advocates and activate our loyal, educated, engaged audience today. In-show interviews and sponsored special events considered across Wisconsin. Affordable digital and terrestrial ads available in Chicago and Minneapolis and directly on the Devil Radio app. Make a deal with the Devils and get the Devil's Advocates bump to your bottom line. Call or text 844-967-2789 today.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates, and he would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Let me tell you about Ruby Isle Auto in Milwaukee. They're family owned, and John, Kathy, Jim, and Corey have been in business over 40 years. Ruby Isle Auto is located at 11137 West Silver Spring Drive, right off of I-41. And if you mention WAUK 540 AM or the Earl Ingram Show, you get $10 off your oil change. Schedule today by calling 414-438-1900. Ruby Isle Auto, your friends in the car business. Hey, Susan, how you doing?
I'm good, Earl. Again, I want to thank you for a wonderful show. The interesting thing is that you're now starting to give people in that part of Wisconsin some food for thought. Having him call in was wonderful. I think we all have to really work hard together to bring a lot more people in the fold.
I'm glad that gentleman called. And it's not that I'm so arrogant that I think I know everything. There's too much in the world to know and think more of myself than I should.
Here on the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM.
If you're feeling down, knocked flat on the ground, and there's no hope around, I'm on my way. If your phone goes splat in a toilet that is like a toxic vat, yeah, there's no way. Sorry, there's some things, there's just no way I'll do. Not even for a friend like you.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin with Kristin Brey. Did you think that was a commercial?
I thought it was a commercial. I'm like, what are they advertising here? Is this a phone repair? Is it a toilet place? I have no clue.
What's the actual name of the song?
It is Not Even for a Friend Like You by Bryant Oden.
Bryant Oden.
Yes.
That sounds like a villain. I'm Bryant Oden, head of Odin Corp.
I feel like your name, you could get away with being named Odin with that beard.
Yeah, okay. The moment I shave it off, I look like a Steve.
Yeah.
I look like a little boy with baggy eyes.
Welcome back. We are talking about friendship this hour and the decline of it, at least for those of us who are adults. And because I really have seen a bunch of things pop up recently, whether it's New York Times, Vox, The Atlantic, like not just like squishy, feel good, like People magazine type articles, like serious news corporations talking about friendship.
I will say, if you go to that Vox article, it is all pictures.
Well, that's one of many. So they had a whole issue,
I know.
whatever digital issues look like about friendship. And there's actually a lot of different articles in there. But yes, the one on men is basically all pictures and infographics.
It should be a pop-up book. Why You Need to Be Friends. A pop-up book by Bryant Oden.
So how good are you at giving like a random reach out?
Oh, so I used to be really good at it. So this is going to delve a little into my own psychology. Okay. I should probably write this down for my next session. But I used to be the type of person who would just text friends randomly and tell them they were great. And while it felt good when you don't get them back, not from that person, but at all, it feels like you're putting a lot of love out there in the world and you're not getting any back. And that kind of compounds into this sense of feeling very lonely. Like it's, if I'm with somebody, if I'm hanging out with people, I make sure that they feel good around me. I want to tell them I think they're great. Or at the very least, when I say goodbye to them, I tell them that I say, I love you. Like I make a point of saying, I love you to them. Very affectionate, a hug. If I'm on the right wavelength with certain friends or like older relatives, kiss on the cheek. But I say, I love you because I want them to know at all costs that I love them, especially to my male friends. I tell them I love them. But as far as like the check-ins, I don't do that as much as I used to. I probably actually don't do it at all anymore. But trying to stay in regular contact with those I feel very close to is important. So I feel like that maybe is a better substitute because you're staying in that constant contact. But I don't just send random messages out anymore because it can come back to you and feel real not fun.
Jane, how are you at getting random, thinking about you texts?
I don't think I'm good at that, but I'm more likely to call. For one thing, it takes me so long to text because I'm a single fingered texter. And so
You're
I'm
an ET texter?
Yes.
ET phone home?
I'm tapping on the phone. And after I get done with the first sentence, it's like, I forget it. I'm just going to call you. This is going to take me forever.
You must hate trying to converse with me then, because all I do is text.
And that's why I call you. Because again, I'm on my second paragraph. It's like, well, this is going to take me an hour.
You should just send Jane a text that says, I'm about to text you, and then she'll just call you.
Exactly. Well, apparently we should all be checking in on people more, and that it's not so much for us but the studies have shown being on the receiving side of a check-in text, especially the more surprising that check-in text is, the better it feels on the receiving end.
Absolutely.
And so there's a study that showed that it was like 13 different experiments, 6,000 different participants, and it was basically both on the giving side of how people feel when they're sending either an email or a text of just saying, hey, like, just wanting to know, like, I care about you, or I was thinking about you, or this made me think of you. But across the board on the receiving side, it helps.
Yeah.
Like, it feels good. And so I think we should all get better of having those people, especially if we haven't seen them in a while. And it's not, because I think sometimes there's a pressure of, well, now we have to catch up. And sometimes like the big question, like, how's it going? And we're, if we haven't talked in a while, the question of, I don't know, it's fine, it's crazy, it's busy, it's whatever. Like, how am I going to catch you up in a text message of everything that's been happening in my life for the last month, 2 months, 3 months, a year, if we haven't talked in that long?
Yeah.
But I don't think that should dissuade us from at least just saying, hey, this made me think of you. And so for me, that's why I still, as much as social media can be detrimental or whatever, I try to send the reaction to someone's Instagram story.
You do that in text messaging too.
Yeah.
You do that in text messaging.
Like of the acknowledgement or that made me laugh or whatever. Because I know it makes me feel good when people do it. And so almost just the tip of the hat of like, I see that you're putting things out into the world. I appreciate getting to see what you're up to. And if that's all that we have as an exchange, that's still something that's still better than nothing.
And I will say the only reason why I don't do that for your text messages, I love it, like especially when you send the smiley face with the heart eyes, because I'm like, I feel like I've made you laugh. The only reason I don't do that is because I can't do that with my phone because it's an Android.
I know.
And we need Apple, Tim Cook and Steve Android. You need to come together, or Bob Google, whatever your name is, come together. Let us have more
symbiotic texting relationships. This green blue divide between us is, do we show up as a different color for you guys on the Android side?
Well, with Android, if you're not, let me just take a check here because I can't remember because I'm old.
Because this does feel like line. A lot of people have this as their line in the sand of like, I can't be friends if your text messages show up green on my iPhone. No, thank you.
Yours is a blackish background against another black background, and then mine's a tan. So that's what it looks like that's what it looks like. That's what iPhones look like. Let me see here.
Hurry up, we gotta go break.
You know what? Okay, just don't rush me.
All right, you keep figuring that out.
Oh, and for it looks like with Android it's brown. I'm brown, so there's not really like
so iPhone really just wants to rub it in when you're talking to someone who doesn't have an iPhone. All right, we gotta take another break. As goes Wisconsin.
Your new rug and you feel like a hug. Yeah, there's no way. Sorry, there's some things there's just no way I'll do. Not even for a friend like you.
The Shaw 101 FM, your fix for progressive talk. From Muskego to Pewaukee. Always streaming at WAUKradio.com.
I love this song! I love nachos.
Loving everything? You might be buzzed.
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzz warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Social media? You've kept up with the times. If you can do that, you can definitely save for retirement. Go to aceyourretirement.org and in just 3 minutes, you'll get free tips to help boost your retirement savings. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
But Dom, we've been following a couple of big stories this week. Truck convoy leader has no idea where he is and is driving in circles around I-495. He didn't know precisely where he was going anyways or where he was at the time. Apparently, he put the convoy back on the road, headed back up north, and he's back in Scranton. So
I totally would have protested this tyranny, but damn, the traffic was so bad.
Good morning, I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. A White House tradition will resume today after a hiatus during the Trump years.
Barack and Michelle Obama will return to the White House for the unveiling of their official portraits,
which will hang on the walls of the White House forever as reminders of the power of hope and change.
Spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre says President Biden's eager to greet his former boss. The sitting president traditionally welcomes his immediate predecessor for the unveiling, but that did not happen under Donald Trump. The Obama portraits will join the collection of all past presidents, starting with the famous George Washington painting.
There's nothing else in the White House presently that was there on day one except for that portrait.
The day in 1800 when White House Historical Association Chief Stuart McLaurin says John and Abigail Adams moved in as the mansion's first residents. Sagar Magani, Washington.
And I'm Ed Donahue.
We tried Dynovite for gut health and immune support, and after a couple of weeks, our little Gizmo was acting like a puppy again. His coat was shinier, he had a lot less scratching and shedding, and he seemed like his happy old self.
My dog smelled and scratched constantly. We bathed and sprayed her, took her to the vet, but no results. Now, a little Dynovite in her food helps Bella keep her beautiful coat with no scratching or smell.
Get 10% off your next order of Dynovite nutritional supplements for dogs at Dynovite.com.
Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dynovite.
Now that the school year is underway, do you know how your child is doing in math? At Mathnasium, each student is provided with a customized learning plan based on an individual assessment. They'll get the live face-to-face instruction they need, either in center or online, to accelerate their math skills and take on the rest of the school year with confidence. Join over 1 million parents who have trusted Mathnasium to give their children an edge in math. To learn more and to schedule a free consultation, visit us at mathnasium.com. Mathnasium, we're changing lives through math.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Matnair with your headlines. Lieutenant Governor and Democratic U.S. Senate candidate Mandela Barnes says he did not appear with President Biden Monday at Milwaukee's Labor Fest because he was in Racine taking groceries to UAW workers who've been on strike for the past few months. Barnes' absence called out by some Republicans on social media. An August Marquette University Law School poll found 56% of Wisconsinites have an unfavorable view of President Biden, 40% favorable. Tuesday, during a campaign stop with union workers, Barnes criticized GOP incumbent Senator Ron Johnson for not doing more to persuade Oshkosh Corporation to keep 1,000 new jobs in Wisconsin. Those instead went to the company's plant in South Carolina. Partly cloudy today, high 79, clear tonight, low 55. You're listening to The Shaw, 101 FM, WAUK 540 AM.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin with Kristin, Brey, and our guest co-host every Wednesday, Greg Bach.
I feel like we should just ditch the friendship talk and only talk about Gary Newman for the rest of the half an hour because Gary Newman's amazing.
What makes Gary Newman amazing?
His forward thinking, even though some called him a knockoff of Kraftwerk, famous krautrock band from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, Gary Newman's work is innovative and beautiful and awesome.
What was that word?
Innovative.
Innovative?
Innovative, whatever. You can say it both ways.
I've literally never heard it said that way.
See, a friend wouldn't make fun of somebody for knowing a word. See, this is what I'm talking about, people. Kristin Brey does not believe in friendship. She believes in people she can hang out with until they say a word, correctly I might add, and then point their finger and laugh at them.
Say it again.
Innovative.
Jane, have you ever heard it said that way?
No.
You're both... I'm not saying the way you say it is wrong. I'm saying that's how I say it.
Well, my husband says aluminium, so...
Is he from Manchester?
He's from England.
Okay, then never mind. Okay, fine. Ask him how he says that word. It might be because I listen to a lot of...
Innovative. What did you say? Innovative?
Innovative. Do you say comparable or comparable?
Comparable.
Okay, there we go. See, we're coming together. We're friends again. But Gary Newman's amazing. And his first band, Two Boy Army, was amazing too. So, okay, moving on.
Moving on. Friendship.
I think we're fighting now.
So my thing as an adult and making friends as an adult, one, I don't have kids yet.
Mm-mm.
And I think that is certainly part of what I have heard from people who do have kids and how much your friends become parents who have kids who are the same age as yours.
Yeah.
And
that sounds like a lot of pressure, by the way.
Yeah, but it's like because our time gets so consumed with our children, and then you start finding people who go to the same school as your kids or on the same sports teams or whatever. And so that becomes your friend group because it becomes harder and harder to see your actual friends who maybe also have kids and whatever. But I would say, as someone who does not have kids yet, for me, making friends and hitting it off with people is not necessarily the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also, I know, very outgoing, and that's like part of my, that's part of my shtick.
I would say it's part of your charm.
Thank you. I didn't want to say it. But keeping friends is something different. Like,
yes.
I feel like even in the time I've moved to Milwaukee, I've met a lot of people that I want to be friends with.
Mm-hmm.
And it is hard to deepen those relationships because time, making the effort, not having other overlapping friends, like as a built-in group where anyone who's making the initiative to get the group together lowers or lightens the burden of the one-on-one, let's spend time together.
Yeah.
And I've felt the same way about keeping friendships across distances, and like, because I've moved so much, I feel like the list of people that I have been friends with for like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years is pretty small because I've moved, and keeping those friendships, like, I care about all those people, and I think, and I believe that they care about me, but the check-ins, how much effort and time do we spend to try to visit each other, and how much does that decline year over year over year because of jobs or friends, and like the prioritization of keeping those friendships alive and strong, even if like we're never going to live in the same place again.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I think I don't necessarily, but I also can appreciate that I am not the norm in my ability to like put myself out there and connect and like hit it off with people to the point there's like, I'd like to hang out again because like I'm extroverted. Like, this is a whole other thing for people who are naturally very introverted, who I think this is even bigger problem for. If like you add in time, how busy people are, just kind of how isolated if you're working from home, and like the opportunity to meet new people. And then if you're also introverted on top of that, that's like
the anxiety.
Yeah.
It's very, I mean, I can be incredibly outgoing when I want to be, and that's almost a defense mechanism for myself. Like, if I'm in a group of people, I feel like if I'm not outgoing, I'm going to seem rude and quiet, when really I don't have a ton to say, but because I stand on stage and make money by making people laugh, I have the ability to be outgoing. And then you meet in those situations and you meet people like, oh, I want to be friends with you. But then I, like, for myself, I think, how do you do that? Like, do I just say, hello, person, you seem nice, let us be friends? And then I just sound like a weird robot. But like, it is very difficult. I mean, I feel like there's difficulties on both sides, where like in your situation, you have the moving aspect, but also like you can meet a lot of people, but that doesn't mean you want to be friends with all of them. It means like,
that's actually not true. I do want to be friends with.
Oh, okay.
Like
wow.
the list of people that I wish I had time to hang out with.
Yeah.
But especially now I don't, bums me out.
Yeah. But And I get that. And I say the same for myself. And I'm sure the list is much smaller, but it's just that anxiety of like, how do you put yourself out there to say, like, I mean, I have that problem, not just with new people in my life, but with like older friends. Like I said, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to say like, hey, we don't have to talk. I just want to say you're great. Like, like you almost have to like preface the check-in, like, how's it going? How you doing? We don't have to talk about everything. Just 2 messages is cool. We'll move on. I don't want to bother you. All right, here we go. All right. And then, I mean, there's just like, for me personally, there's an anxiety component to it. And with making new friends, it's like, I don't want to say impossible, because you and I have become friends in the past year. And I would attribute a lot of that to your outgoingness. And like, if you were like me, we probably wouldn't have talked since last October. And not because I didn't like you, but because it's like, how do I talk to someone? It feels very weird now. Like, it's just, that's how I feel. But when you have one half of it who's very much like, hey, how's it going? You're like, oh, dang, this person wants to talk to me. You can kind of pick it up. And like, I don't feel weird texting you on a Wednesday saying, watching this dumb show, should we talk about it? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I couldn't do that for a lot of friends who are like me, because I just, like, because I either get no response because they don't check their messages a lot, or they're gonna be like, sure, and that's the end of the conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a different component, but I see, like, as far as being an adult, and going back to what you were talking about with regard to like the children component, that just seems, I mean, I don't know, that I get that you are putting yourself in a situation where you identify with people based on the fact that you both have children the same age, doing the same thing, going to the same schools. That just seems like forced friendship, if you will. I'm sure you can make good friends out of it, but I have to also believe that like a lot of people take their kids to school and be like, oh God, these people, it's the only thing I have in common is this tinier version of me. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. I couldn't be here. I'd be at a school by myself. It'd be weird. Like, that doesn't seem like a good, a positive way of making friends to me, to filter it all down to one aspect. And that's because we have children, and like, that's all we have. That scares me. Like, I don't have children, by the way, everyone, just so you know. You're welcome. But like,
which is why you're probably saying that, because I'm sure everyone who's listening who does have kids is like, well, he just doesn't get it.
Of course not, because parents love nothing more to tell non-parents what they don't get and how they don't understand.
Oh, did I touch a nerve?
Yeah. I'm older now. Like, no one cares. I'm 44. People are like, oh, you're not gonna have, like, if I was 24 and had this attitude, or even my 30s and had this attitude, you have a lot of parents of many ages coming at you, telling you what you don't understand about not being a parent. And it's like, yeah, you're right, I don't. It's like when someone says, well, you don't now you know how so-and-so feels. No, I don't. I'll never know how anyone feels other than myself. I don't know what it's like to be a parent. You're right. I'm not saying I do. I never will. I'm not assuming to know what you feel. It just seems like a torturous process to have to go to a place with another version of you that's smaller, and then have to force conversation with people that, let's face it, you generally don't like. Text the show if you have thoughts.
I was going to say, I would love to hear from people and listeners on how do you make friends as an adult? 844-967-2789, 844-96-PARTY. Text us, call us, because what in all these articles I read was it takes effort ultimately. Yeah. Like, it does take yourself to putting yourself out there, and that is either signing up for, because it basically comes down to, like I said, a shared experience and an ability to be vulnerable and find a mutual connection in a way. And the shared experiences, that's what can be hard. So shared experience of having your kids go to the same school, shared experience of working at the same place. But if you're now working from home, that becomes a lot more difficult. So like picking up a hobby of some sort. I think this is why people, whether it's stand up or a kickball league or martial arts or something, but then it is getting over your shyness and making time. And like in the same way, almost when you're dating and you're single, of that first lunch date, if it's not just immediately, we just hit it off, but not giving up. Yeah. It is almost kind of like dating as far as putting an effort into making new relationships and making new friends.
I would venture to say that it's, I don't want to say more important, but I feel like the chance of making a friend is really cool and important and helpful and healthy, as we're seeing, as we're talking about. Go on a date with somebody, go for lunch, go for coffee. It may work, it may not work. You move on. There can be more people out there, but like, if I sat down with someone like, oh, I'm like gonna hang out, and you're like, oh man, we're not gonna be friends, I'd be like, oh man, I suck. You know, like being friends with somebody, like, I don't know, it feels like a great thing.
It is a great thing.
But
I think you made an interesting point as far as what is a friend.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things that we may not all have a shared definition of how loosely you refer to someone as a friend who you've maybe only met once.
Yeah.
I think I'm guilty of that.
Mm-hmm.
I've met someone once, we've had one good conversation. I'm like, yeah, we're friends.
You have the confidence. Oh my God. I need it down on paper. I need like a good 3 to 6 months.
Really?
No, I'm exaggerating. No, but like it does feel like I have to have like more time with someone to really call them a friend. And that's my doing. That's not anybody. Like, I don't put that upon anybody else. And I don't think that's the general norm of it all. But definitely, like, if I meet somebody, I'm not going to assume that role yet. I have to have some, like, some hangout time or some chats or something like that. I mean, over time, like, you're like, oh, this person is my friend. I feel like we are friends. And that's good stuff. That feels good, especially if you know that they care and love you and they'll call you their friend, or, it's especially in this time of so many connections, whether it's social media or some people just have a lot of friends in life. If someone like directs their time towards you, even the check, like whether it's the check-in or, hey, you want to grab lunch? That feels so good. You're choosing to carve up like an hour of your time and spend it with me when I know nobody has time anymore, especially adults. We got so much going on, but they're saying, let's hang out. I want to know about you. Tell me what's going on in your life. And they're not trying to sell you on any sort of multi-market
MLM.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a great new opportunity for you, Greg.
Have you heard of Tupperware? Oh my gosh, it's the tub of the future.
These leggings.
These leggings can fit in Tupperware.
And then you can put some skincare on top of
it. And then have you heard of Herbalife? It's very innovative. Yeah.
Bring it back.
Heck yeah, that's what a call. That's a callback, baby.
All right. Well, I'm glad we're friends.
I mean, too. Honestly, like seriously, I don't think about it all the time. That'd be weird. But like, whatever, Brooke. No, it's true. Like because I don't make friends easily, and I'm so busy. The fact that like 1, I've made a friend. That's good stuff for me. 2, I feel like we've become close friends. And the fact that you, who knows everyone, chooses to spend time with me, that feels good. So that like, that's a positive step to healthy adult relationships.
Let's write a book.
Let's totally
How to make adult friends. Have a radio show. All right, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about the Madison night market.
Ooh.
And so stick with us. This is As Goes Wisconsin with Kristin Brey.
If you think you need a home inspection, you probably do. Hi, I'm Todd Osborne of Orion Inspections. And buyers, sellers, and even flippers, I'm talking to you. Knowledge is power when it comes to real estate transactions. You'll get an image-packed, searchable, digital, printable report of the condition of the house, things to keep an eye on, any safety issues or defects, and the knowledge to make smart, informed decisions. Your instinct is telling you to get an inspection, and instincts are usually right. Learn more or schedule today at orioninspections.com.
Hi, everyone. Listen to my show, The Matt McNeil Show, weekday afternoons at 3 p.m. on the Shaw 101. 1 hour every weekday where we'll talk all sorts of things like politics, especially with what's going on this election season, plus a lot of other things, too. Parenting, the arts, religion, music, beer. If it matters to Wisconsin and Minnesota, we'll talk about it. Phone calls are welcome at 952-946-6205 for 1 hour each day. Come see the Train Chimp, The Matt McNeil Show with the aggressive progressive Matt McNeil, 3 p.m. weekday afternoons right here on the Shaw 101.
You've waited 12 years for this, but you just didn't know what the flavor was going to be. Nothing has tasted quite right up until now. Sometimes it tasted dumb, crazy, or even seditious. But now it tastes just right. Introducing Mandela Mash, a legit lager. This beer won't embarrass you in public. It comes in an aluminum can, not a tinfoil hat, and it was made in America, not Russia. With a clean finish, the taste doesn't lie. Mandela Mash, the only sane choice for U.S. Senate. Available only in Wisconsin. Go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com to find where you can buy this fresh new flavor of American democracy.
Conservative Talk Radio, they don't want to hear your opinion. They want to give you your opinion. They've done a good job. There's a way out. You can escape. Just turn on 540 AM WAUK, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., Monday through Friday. And we can help you get out. We can teach you to think again.
Catch the Earl Ingram Show weekdays from 8 to 11 a.m. here on the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 a.m.
All the girls walk by, dressed up
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin with Kristin Brey. Greg Bach is here because it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
We record this in downtown Waukesha, but we air across southeast Wisconsin on WAUK. We're in central Wisconsin, in Wausau and Wisconsin Rapids. And eventually I think we'll be in Madison too, but all our Madison audience for now streams us, which you can do. And you can also listen to us on podcasts. There's lots of ways to listen. But one of the things we want to make sure that we do is feature events and things going on across the state. And so to talk about something happening in my hometown of Madison, we have Tiffany Kenny, who is the executive director of Madison's Central Business Improvement District, to talk about the Madison Night Market. How's it going, Tiffany?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, and good morning. And we're looking forward to tomorrow. So yeah,
I know. So what can people expect? I've actually never been to the Madison Night Market. I've been to the Milwaukee Night Market, but I can imagine, having grown up in Madison and how fun the downtown area is, that it is quite the event.
It sure is. Well, I love that you've gone to the Milwaukee market, because when we first thought about putting the Madison Night Market together in 2018, we sure went to Milwaukee for ideas, but then we had to make it Madison's own version, right? And so in Madison, Wisconsin, that takes place on State Street. That is the pedestrian mall that we're sort of famous for. You can see it behind me, those of you who are looking at pictures. There's the Capitol right at the top of State Street, and at the lower end of State Street is the campus, the UW campus area. So we connect those two things with arts, crafts, food, dancing, music, and lots of great local shopping.
Yeah, I can only imagine. That's the one thing that I say, there's a lot of things that Madison is better at. There's a lot of things that Milwaukee are better at. They're very different as our two biggest cities in the state. But the thing that I will always say that Madison has over Milwaukee is a pedestrian street like State Street that only buses can drive on, and where you don't have to get a license to shut down the street. It's already, everyone's walking, everyone's shopping, you can feel safe on it. And truly, when you walk down State Street and you look up and the Capitol's right there, it's such a good view. And every time I come in on Washington, driving from Milwaukee into Madison, and as soon as the Capitol pops up, I'm like, this is pretty cool.
Well, I wish it was as easy as not having to get a permit. We have to jump through a lot of hoops to do this.
Okay.
And we sure do, because, it is still a street for safety reasons and for bus, and we have to reroute a lot of those things. We've got to make sure our businesses can still operate. They can still get customers in and out. But what is great is that our community is so collaborative on this. The permit process, it's a lot of signatures to collect, but they're easy to collect. And the community has really come out in thousands to support this. We'll see between 7,000 and 10,000 people attend the night market through that 4-hour window of time. And we call it a night market because it ends at night. We do start at 4 p.m. It's kind of a funny Midwestern style night market where it's pretty late around 8 p.m. So we all got to go home. So we do the Madison night market from 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. Traditionally, it's that second Thursday of the month, but this is our last one right now that we've got scheduled. We're thinking about squeezing a holiday version in, which we've done sometimes in the past, but this will be number 4 of 4 that we had planned for the year.
Incredible.
Tiffany, and I'm sure it's like trying to pick your favorite child, but what are some of the most unique vendors that you have there and some of the most unique vendor items that people can buy?
Yeah. Well, I absolutely love this market because we do reach out. We've got to balance the businesses that exist on State Street already and are established and are great businesses. And I don't want to come and bring a popcorn shop and place them right in front of the other popcorn shop. That would never work. So what we do is we work really hard to scour the community to find the small vendors, the folks who are just starting out in their businesses. So we have great vendors. They have lots of times they sell out, which is really fun. And for me, I see some of the things that are really trending right now. I've got this woman, Versal Goods, who makes handmade felt flowers. They're beautiful. They last forever. They're really great to gift or to use for like a wedding bouquet. I've got Bold Blossom Shop where I should have put her earrings on. She's making great things out of polymer clay and these really creative earrings. So we see, makers, people who are making a lot of things with their hands, they're crafters. We then also see a lot of people who want to feed us. So there's lots of great food. And so I am biased there. When you ask what my favorite is, I'm just going to start listing all the cookie booths. I just feel like, and in true Madison style, we try to have a little something for everyone. We've got great vegan food. We've got some of our sugar-free, dairy-free folks. Like you want to have ice cream that you can actually eat as someone who's a vegan or vegetarian, we've got it for you.
Ooh.
So, really lots of neat products and people trying out their business. They're looking for customer feedback. So again, you're going to see what I call them like micro businesses, really tiny, small inventories, but cool stuff. And I would say, I think that's what's changed in the world these days. We can order online notebooks and socks and I don't know, whatever else. But how do you find that unique special jewelry? How do you find those great gift items? And I don't think it's too early to start thinking about holiday gift giving. I can't believe we're in September already. So, this is going to be a great market for folks here to come check out and to really support local.
And how is, every time I come back to Madison, I grew up being on State Street. I grew up doing theater at this Children's Theater of Madison, which was in the Civic Center, which is now the Overture Center. And we were just kind of allowed as children to go find lunch on State Street. And I feel like I have a vision of what State Street was when I was growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s. And every time I go back now, I feel like there's either a new shop or something getting built. And so how coming out of, what was the pandemic, and I know State Street was hit pretty hard during some of the riots in 2020, not riots, protests in 2020. So how is the Central Madison Business District doing?
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. It has been a rough 2 years. The pandemic definitely hit our small businesses. We had some civil unrest where some of the buildings got damaged themselves. But physically, we're all back together. Mentally, emotionally, I think we're all trying to figure out what the new world looks like. So we do have more vacancies than we would prefer on State Street. We like to have some vacancies because, like you mentioned, we want to bring in new things. We want to keep it vibrant and dynamic. But we think there's still room for some new businesses to come join us on State Street. And those that are there are really healthy. And we have some great longtime friends. The soap opera is still there. Little Luxuries gift shop is still there. And then I've got some really cool new things. I've got Supra sneakers, and this guy's dealing in high-end tennis shoes and sneakers. That's a cool shop. And we also have Single Stitch. He's got a vintage t-shirt shop. So, new things come and go. One thing I always love to share is at one point, there were 12 record stores on State Street. Wow. And now record stores have changed, right? So it's great that we still have a few and we still have people who collect records, but I don't think we need 12 of them anymore. So
absolutely.
State Street's always changing. The night market is a perfect time to come check it out because you'll see all these businesses open late. They they have specials, they have lots of really great things for all of you. And we just would encourage you to think about visiting us for this market.
All right. So the night market's tomorrow starting at 4 on State Street. Tiffany Kenny, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Dueling Tangents with Luke and Brian.
I'm really trying hard not to go insane from the mind screw that is this situation with the I was going to say the GAB, but now it's the WEC, which was audited by the LAB, and then it's now screwed up by the GOP, and we're all SOL. Good for us. Congratulations.
Look at all those acronyms. Yeah.
We're the winners.
Tune in for Dueling Tangents every weekday at 2.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
The Republican Party on a national level. How many years did they investigate Hillary and Bill? They're still going to that.
They're still looking for emails, right? But they don't look in the Trump septic tank for half the top secret classified documents that he was flushing during his term. When one party doesn't care about governing, just don't allow anything to happen when the Democrats are in charge. And then they think the American people are going to get boonswoggled into voting Republican again.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
You are listening to WAUK 540 AM Jackson, W226DR Waukesha, always streaming at
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. A White House tradition will continue today after a hiatus during the Trump years. The AP's Sagar Magani has the story.
Barack and Michelle Obama will return to the White House for the unveiling of their official portraits,
which will hang on the walls of the White House forever as reminders of the power of hope and change.
Spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre says President Biden's eager to greet his former boss. The sitting president traditionally welcomes his immediate predecessor for the unveiling, but that did not happen under Donald Trump. The Obama portraits will join the collection of all past presidents, starting with the famous George Washington painting.
There's nothing else in the White House presently that was there on day one except for that portrait.
The day in 1800 when White House Historical Association Chief Stuart McLaurin says John and Abigail Adams moved in as the mansion's first residents. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is threatening to completely cut energy supplies to the West if it tries to cap prices of Russian exports. He also vowed to press on with Russia's military action in Ukraine until it achieves its goals. A judge in Tennessee revoked bond for Cleotha Abston, the man charged with killing a Memphis woman who was abducted during a pre-dawn run near a university campus. A judge ruled Elon Musk will be able to include new evidence from a Twitter whistleblower as he fights to get out of his $44 billion deal to buy Twitter. But Musk won't be able to delay a high-stakes trial next month over the dispute. Movie theater operator Cineworld is filing for bankruptcy protection. The British company owns Regal Cinemas in the U.S. The pandemic weighed down Cineworld with billions of dollars in debt and lower than expected attendance. United Airlines says its third quarter revenue will be higher than expected due to strong summer travel demand. Stocks are higher on Wall Street. This is AP News.
We tried Dynavite for gut health and immune support, and after a couple of weeks, our little gizmo was acting like a puppy again. His coat was shinier, he had a lot less scratching and shedding, and he seemed like his happy old self.
My dog smelled and scratched constantly. We bathed and sprayed her, took her to the vet, but no results. Now, a little Dynavite in her food helps Bella keep her beautiful coat with no scratching or smell.
Get 10% off your next order of Dynavite nutritional supplements for dogs at Dynavite.com. Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dynavite.
Now that the school year is underway, do you know how your child is doing in math? At Mathnasium, each student is provided with a customized learning plan based on an individual assessment. They'll get the live face-to-face instruction they need, either in center or online, to accelerate their math skills and take on the rest of the school year with confidence. Join over 1 million parents who have trusted Mathnasium to give their children an edge in math. To learn more and to schedule a free consultation, visit us at mathnasium.com. Mathnasium, we're changing lives through math.
The Shaw 101 FM, Brookfield's choice for News Talk Radio. Streaming 24/7 at WAUKradio.com.
Free and equal education is and has always been a cornerstone to this nation. Yet our public school system, once the envy of the world, has never faced more scrutiny than right now. Caught between political bickering and big business cash grabs, our schools are under attack, and the people that stand to lose the most are our children. Join Dr. Tim Slacker and Dr. Johnny Lupinacci for Busted Pencils Radio. Each week they take on the challenges and issues facing our schools, teachers, and communities. Busted Pencils, Tuesdays at 7, right here on 92.7.
Aho, this is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. On our show, we talk about Native issues like treaty violations, protecting the water, and COVID in our Native communities. Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. We invite all people to walk hand in hand with us through our struggles, victories, and achievements. Join us weeknights from 6 to 7 p.m. Alliant Energy is a proud sponsor of Native Roots Radio.
I may never have met you. We don't go way back. Maybe we wouldn't even be friends if we did. But when you wear a mask, you have my respect. Because your mask doesn't protect you. It protects me. I wear my mask to protect you. Mask up, America.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Matnier with your headlines. After a lag of several months, bird flu is back in Wisconsin. The State Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection confirming the disease in a non-commercial flock in Washington County last week, the first case in Wisconsin since the end of May. Last spring, 8 commercial flocks and 14 backyard flocks had to be culled because of the disease. This is the first time Wisconsin's poultry owners have dealt with bird flu since 2015. The department suggesting flock owners take added precautions like cleaning shoes and equipment, preventing contact with wild birds, and limiting visitors. Brewers last night lost to the Rockies in extra innings, the final 10-7. They meet up again this afternoon. Partly cloudy today, high 79, clear tonight, low 55. You're listening to The Shaw, 101 FM, WAUK 540 AM.
Live programming for WAUK Radio 540 AM and 101 FM is produced right in the Shaw in beautiful downtown Waukesha, Wisconsin.
The Shaw, 101 FM, WAUK 540 AM, Waukesha's only news talk station.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin with Kristin, Brey.
People are so confused right now.
Like, what are we listening to? But this is the game. If you can guess what we're going to talk about based on Jane's music, then you win something. We haven't decided what yet. You win our friendship. Yes. Do you hang a flag outside your house?
No.
Jane, do you hang a flag outside your house?
We do not.
Do you?
I am not sure at the moment if we own an American flag, We own a Milwaukee flag.
You mean a people's flag?
People's flag?
Not the official flag of Milwaukee, the people's flag.
That's fair. Yeah. I actually kind of like the official, it's got a lot of stuff. Kind of reminds me of the Wisconsin flag.
It's real busy.
It's got a lot of stuff on it.
There's some things on there I want to vote off of the Milwaukee flag, but like the people's flag is there's a lot of controversy. Oh, I did it again. But
controversy?
Whatever. You probably read it. Whatever. Yeah.
But I'm not opposed to having a American flag fly.
I'm not opposed to anyone flying the American flag. I guess it comes down to why are you flying it? And I think that's a valid question. There's some people who are just like, I'm an American, so I just fly the flag. Or maybe I'm military, I fly the flag. My grandpa fought in the war. Everyone can have their reasons. It's for me now, though, whenever I see the flag on someone's house, I can't not feel a little uneasy just because that flag has been weaponized so hard, especially since 9/11, that I don't know what this person's reasons why they're flying it. Like, is it because, are they looking for the America of old? Are they just a proud American? But even still, like, do they not understand that American flag carries a lot of trauma and hurt for people? Like, it's very, very tough. That's why, like, so when I passed along this article, a New York Times article, entitled "The American Flag Belongs to Me Too," and this year I'm taking it back, and it was written by a woman named Margaret Renkel, who is a culture and politics person at the New York Times and writes about the South, because this whole story takes place in the South. She explains the history of the flag and the fact that, you know, for the longest time, Southerners didn't fly the American flag because they weren't proud of that flag. They were proud of another flag. And
it was the Yankee flag.
Yeah, it's the Yankee flag. That's exactly. And just for me, like, and the reason why I brought it to you is because a friend of mine talked to me about this article, and he asked me when we found a house, he said, "Are you going to fly an American flag?" And I said, "Probably not. I don't know if we'll fly any sort of flag." And he said, "You should really think about. You should read this article and really think about it. I think it's important. I really want to fly one too." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I read the article, and there are a lot of good points in it. There are a lot of good points of why to do it. You know, it doesn't belong to one group. It belongs to everybody. And that's not something I dispute at all. My big thing is, I know from interviews, from reading articles, and from hearing people talk about it, that when they see that flag, it can create hurt. It can create anxiety, despair for them, because what that flag represents to them, those aren't the things that I believe in this country. So if I fly that flag, I feel like I'm inadvertently saying, yeah, either yes to it, or I'm going to pick and choose what I want. Like, I feel like I don't want to have to knock on your door and get a reason why you're flying the flag. You know, if you're flying a pride flag, I know why you're flying the pride flag. If you're flying a Trump flag, I know why you're flying it. But with the American flag, there's so much there in my brain that goes into it that I feel like I don't want to get caught up in any sort of messaging on it. And it sounds very weird for a flag, but also we're like the only country, I think, who has such a love affair with their flag. Most countries fly their flags on government buildings.
Oh, I don't know if that's true.
Really? I mean, I feel like
my ex-boyfriend was a French guy, and when the
probably still is.
The past tense is the boyfriend part. But he is still French, and when France won the World Cup in 2018, he paraded shirtless in the streets of New York with a flag as a cape. But the French flag is the cape.
But see, that's a specific event, a huge world event. I get that. That's a pride thing, and I totally understand that. But what we did with our flag is, like I said before, we weaponized it, and we turned it into T-shirts and ties, and
we put it on the moon.
We put it on the moon. If you believe in that sort of junk, huh?
It wasn't a sound stage.
Stanley Kubrick directed that, if I'm telling you anything today. I don't know why I know why I go Southern. I know exactly why I go Southern, and I apologize to our Southern listeners. But my point is,
all of you.
If Margaret from the New York Times is listening, no, but I that makes sense though. If we won first of all, if America won the World Cup, I think.
Well, we did.
I mean, the men. You're right. I'm sorry. We've run it 4 times. Women won it 4 times, and it's amazing. And okay, I definitely, I'm going to back the car up. I'm going to back the car out of this part, because I feel like you're right. As someone who likes soccer, you think I remember, but I don't. But my point is like, I don't think that any other country, at least in the Western world or a developed nation, worships their flag like we do. And it becomes a symbol of, like, you know, do you love the flag as much as me? Do you have Zumba pants that are American flags? No, you don't? Well, you don't love America then, do you? And so for me, that symbol, I can't put down, like, I can't attach a flag on below the flag that says, this is why I'm flying this.
I mean, you actually could, though. You could put a rainbow flag next to it. You could put a Black Lives flag, like something else that symbolizes your politics and things and causes that you support in conjunction with an American flag. And because I think arguably one of the things that people love about America is that fact that we can change, and that there is processes in place to be able to improve and change and grow and gain civil rights, and like that's what you appreciate America for, and so that's why you're flying the flag. I do understand that the desire to then have the additional flag as just so you know where I'm.
We should have an American flag and explanation flag that just comes.
That has asterisks on it.
The thing for me though, if I'm going to fly a pride flag, as a proud queer boy as I am, or if I'm flying a Black Lives Matter flag, to me, those flags talk about the inherent good ideas of America. Therefore, I don't need an American flag. If you fly a Black Lives Matter flag or a pride flag or something that believes in the equity and equality and the social justice of this country, the good points of America are explained therein, and your action is flying that one flag. That's all I need. I don't need an American flag as a symbol of my patriotism. Those do just fine for me. Also, I think it was St. Francis of Assisi said, preach the gospel every day. If necessary, use words. So I'd rather my actions as an American on this soil would give more credence to what this country stands for versus me just throwing a flag on there, which I think people do. They throw a flag on their house, they put up on a flagpole, and they think, that's it, I'm an American. And then they do horrendous things, say horrendous things, believe in horrendous things. Whereas I would just rather do the opposite. Or fly no flag at all and just get to know me. Get to know me, Kristin.
So I'm confused. Are you pro or anti putting a flag on your newly bought house?
I'm anti putting an American flag on my house. I'm not anti flags, very pro flags. It's about the right messaging.
So
for
you
me,
you don't feel the need to reclaim the American flag?
No, because
like the article, the person who wrote the article said that they were going to do.
Yeah, I think that's hey, if you don't like this statement, call in.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, we'd love to hear as far as your feelings on if you fly the American flag more than just on the 4th of July, what it means to you, why you put it up there. If you have feelings why you don't, let us know.
Yeah.
844-967-2789. This does not rile me up that much.
Yeah. I think for me, it is the fact that if you fly the flag because of a reason, and whether it's military or, that's fine. Everyone gets to have their reasons. That's absolutely fine. But in the effort of reclaiming it or taking it back, to me, that's silliness. It just seems like a silly exercise.
I was always more concerned about flag rules because there's
a whole book, isn't there?
Yeah, there are protocols with handling a flag and displaying a flag and when it goes up and when it comes down. And I just did not familiarize myself enough with those rules, and I was afraid I was going to break the flag rules, and I have the flag police show up in my house. So,
that's just a bunch of 70-year-old guys from the VFW going, come on, let me help you out here.
Hey, but there are specific things, and I think if you're going to do that and you're going to use this as a symbol of pride for our country, then you should follow those protocols.
Well, and that's what's really interesting, because I think in 2017, when Colin Kaepernick, the height of him kneeling and multiple athletes kneeling, and the did you knows that came in response to people saying this is such a disrespect for the flag, the amount of I remember a great Twitter thread of someone spot checking all of the different rules, one of which is you will not replicate the flag for attire.
Yeah.
And literally in the flag book, nothing about kneeling or standing in front of the flag for the national anthem. But as far as not creating it into Zumba pants or earrings or t-shirts, or, the way that we fold it and the way that we fly it and all
the
these
way that we
things.
burn it.
The way
and so there was all of these hypocritical things that we do in the name of patriotism for the 4th of July that actually are breaking the rules of the flag.
Yeah.
And if we're going to be sticklers about it, right? Obviously, someone who was very offended by athletes kneeling will find some way of excusing the breaking of those rules, but this is the sticking point, right? But that's interesting that's what Clearly, you grew up in a Catholic household that you're afraid that someone's going to come get you for the flying of the flag wrong.
Guilt involved in everything, Kristin. Come on. Even if I didn't do it, I somehow probably thought about it and implied it.
You're like, I'm just going to avoid this altogether.
I accidentally will disrespect to the flag into the universe. I'm so sorry, flag police.
All right, so you're not reclaiming the flag.
No, I don't need to.
I have to talk this over with Mike Sampson.
Okay.
We've not discussed this. This was not part of our premarital questions that we were
that wasn't covered
off.
in the
Where should
ceremony?
our kids go to school? How are we going to deal with our money? Are we flying an American flag?
They should go to really cool schools. You should spend it on Lego sets, and who cares?
Exactly. All right, we got to go to a break. And when we come back, it's National Beer Lovers Day, and we both love beer.
Yay!
As
beer.
goes Wisconsin.
WAUK and the Shaw are the new kids on the radio block, and that block happens to be on Wisconsin Ave, Waukesha. Now is a great time to advertise locally with 540 AM and the Shaw 101 FM, while the ads are inexpensive and the audience is rapidly growing. Sponsorships available for This Week in Waukesha, Raised in the Shaw, or live local music on the weekends. Spring packages starting at just $495 a month. Get started today by emailing info@waukradio.com.
The real estate market in Dane County and surrounding areas has been a bit of a hot mess this year. Listings are being picked off above asking prices and without the home inspection contingencies. I'm Todd Osborne, owner of Orion Inspections, and even if I weren't a home inspector, I'd still cringe a little if any of my friends or family tried to buy a home without an inspection. Let's take a good hard look at that house before you sign. Want to know more? I'm here to help. OrionInspections.com. That's Orion, like the constellation, inspections.com.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Hey there, fellow working class heroes. I'm Rick Smith, host of The Rick Smith Show, and we are now on the air in Waukesha, live weeknights 8 to 10 p.m. right here on WAUK 540 AM, 101 FM, The Shaw. Turn on, tune in, and help us rebuild the American dream. Check out our website at thericksmithshow.com. The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk. Weeknights 8 to 10 p.m. right here on WAUK 540 AM, 101 FM, The Shaw.
But there's nothing so lonesome, so small within the rear than standing upon all the pub with no beer. Now the publican's anxious for the
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin with Kristin, Brey, and Greg Bach, because it is Wednesday.
Happy Hump Day!
As someone who works at a brewery,
I do.
You work at Lakefront.
Lakefront Brewery.
I'm assuming that a prerequisite is to love beer. Do you work with anyone there who does not love beer?
I don't believe I work with anybody who doesn't love it. I mean, it might not be their top 5 things in the world, but definitely everybody who there really enjoys it from the, and I would say my palate is very normal. I'm not like a person who's like, I can taste the clove from the yeast. I can say those words. And
are there cloves in yeast?
Yeah, there's clove. There's certain beers that have like banana and clove flavoring because of the yeast that they use. But I just know if I like a beer. And I think that most people I work with just really enjoy beer. They enjoy the process of it. But, out of them, you can pick them out who are like, this is my life. This is what I do. This is what I eat, breathe, and sleep and drink. It's beer. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody dislikes it.
Yeah. I like beer. We know that Jane is more of a wine person than a beer person, but it is National Beer Lovers Day.
Heck yeah.
And I don't know the difference between that and
any other
National
day.
Beer Day, International Beer Day. There's a lot of them, but any reason to partake. I was actually very disappointed in myself because I had some beer mimosas in my fridge that felt like an appropriate thing to drink before noon on a Wednesday for us to enjoy on National Beer Lovers Day. But I forgot them at home. But, I think we are the Brew City, Milwaukee. We got a lot of great lakefront beers. I'm still a sucker for Miller High Life.
I love High Life. High Life is great on a summer day. On a summer day, nothing better than just knocking back like 8 or 10 of them.
I know.
They do nothing. Drinking water. That's what it is, people.
What are some of your other favorite local beers? Local being Milwaukee and or Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Explorium Brewery, which is, I got a couple locations, one location in Milwaukee, and then one I think it's in Greendale, or I think it's Greendale or Greenfield. They make a beer called Lost in the Sauce, which is absolutely delicious. It's a New England IPA, which means that it goes more towards like a lot of people will say like, I don't like IPAs, they're so bitter and they're so hoppy, and that's true, they can be. But the Lost in the Sauce and other New England IPAs, including Lakefront Brewery's Hazy Rabbit, skews more towards like a fruit forward, like a little juicier, so it doesn't have that overarching bitterness to it. Love that beer, love that brewery. Mobcraft, which is right by the club, the Laughing Tap, which is I'm a co-owner of. Sorry, I had to get all the plugs in today, but they got great beers as well. A lot of experimentation. They're a lot of fun. They're expanding into other states, which is really cool. There's a great, everybody, as a former vegan, but vegan friends.
You were a vegan at one point?
I was. I know. It doesn't show.
No, I just didn't know that about you. Keep going.
Yeah. Vegan friends, if you were in and around the Milwaukee area, there's a great vegan brewery called Dead Bird. They serve vegan beer and vegan food. And when I say vegan food, I mean really good vegan food. Get the nachos, bring a friend.
What changes in the recipe of beer when it's vegan?
Sometimes you have to use lactose to make a beer. Sometimes the yeast can contain it. It's basically just that's the funny thing is if you go there and you drink their beer, it's not going to taste any different than most beers. It just means that they're not making milkshake IPAs. There's a brewery right by there called Eagle Park. Yeah. They are very much there. There's a lot of like lactose beers there, a lot of like milkshake IPAs and blah, blah, blah. Good stuff as well. I enjoy them too. But Dead Bird's totally vegan. And their food is totally vegan and it's a fun experience. Got vintage video games there. So, but yeah, Milwaukee's got some great, and that's just the tip of the iceberg.
My go-to is Third Space Happy Place.
Okay,
like if I ever see that on tap, that's.
You know where you can find.
I know I'm gonna like it.
Do you know where you can find Third Space Happy Place? It's really hard to say. It's easier to say innovative. Point is, you can find it at the Laughing Tap. Just put it out there.
I've had it at the Laughing Tap. Actually, I remember one time I was at the Laughing Tap. You and I were having a meeting, and I asked for a happy
meeting. You say in quotes.
And you gave me a spotted cow, and I was like, "Well, this is not what I asked
for,
Greg." But we were still becoming. We were embarking on our friendship, and I was like, "I'm not going to correct him because we are just now."
One, correct me. Two, I tend to space out. Sometimes people will give me, and I hope my boss isn't listening to me, but like sometimes at Lakefront they'll have tokens for the tours, and they give you one token for a half pour. And you'll give me a token for a half pour, and I will just start thinking about something else. Before I know it, there's a full beer in front of me. I'm like, I'm an idiot. There you go.
Enjoy it.
Enjoy your beer that you didn't totally ask for. But, no, always correct me, no matter what it is, because I don't want to be wrong. I don't like being
wrong.
Even
when you say words wrong?
Shut your face right now. I, one, hate being wrong, but two, love admitting when I'm wrong.
How does that work?
Well, if I don't like, people, if they're wrong, you tell them they're wrong, they dig in. They're like, no, that is a happy place I gave you. We're totally this is about Third Space right now. No, you know what I mean? Like there's some people who can't admit they're wrong.
But you were saying that you want to be told that you're wrong?
If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. And then I will happily be like, oh, I'm wrong. And then I'll move on. I've learned.
Okay.
I don't want to dig in.
But you don't want to be wrong.
I don't want to be wrong, but I'm going to be wrong several times an hour. Who knows if I read that article about the flag correctly? Maybe that's about France and the World Cup victory. I have no idea. I can barely read. Jane is literally falling on the floor laughing right now.
Oh, there's so much to work with.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
But happy beer drinking day.
Happy beer drinking day. Happy National Beer Lovers Day. And in this state, we have a long history of loving beer.
Oh, yeah.
And it's finally starting to be memorialized at Old World, Wisconsin, and their brewing experience, which I got to go to earlier this summer. And
I can see that.
And I'm wearing my shirt that I got from there. But for a place that has, done so much and has so much cool history of Wisconsin and the people who settled here and the different ethnicities the heritages that settled here. One thing that was missing for a long time was our beer making. And so now they have finally opened phase 1 of the brewing experience. And we are going to have Rob Novak, who is the brewing experience coordinator at Old World, Wisconsin, join us when we come back from the break to let us know how the first summer went and also the next couple of phases they have planned. Because I feel like if you thought Old World, Wisconsin was just for kids, not anymore. All right, this is As Goes Wisconsin with Kristin Brey.
The Shaw 101 FM, your fix for progressive talk. From Big Bend to Menominee Falls. Always streaming at WAUKradio.com.
Hi there, I'm Kirk Bankstad and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company. And I also have a super PAC. We make good trouble in the North Woods of Wisconsin. You can support our efforts at the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and buy our Wogue gear like t-shirts, hoodies, and trucker hats. Enter the code RADIO and get 10% off on your next purchase. A portion of all sales support the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC, which is dark money meant for good. That's the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com.
The radio show your mother warned you about.
Actual tyranny of a dictator. Dictator's going to dictate Putin. And what did Trump do? Trump kneeled to the man. Embarrassing Republicans. And you're still with the guy? This is your front runner in 2024? You've been smoking some of Mike Lindell's crack. What are you thinking?
They're the GCCCP. We are the devil's advocates.
Live weekday afternoons.
I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Russian President Vladimir Putin is speaking out against the West over the war in Ukraine.
Speaking in Vladivostok, Putin says Moscow will press on with its military action in Ukraine until reaching its goals, and mocked Western attempts to drive Russia into a corner with sanctions. He also scoffed at Western attempts to cap prices for Russian oil and gas, calling the idea stupid and saying that Russia will have enough customers in Asia anyway. Putin adds, the demand is so high on global markets that we won't have any problem selling it. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
A judge in Chicago ruled a music writer who spent decades raising awareness about sexual misconduct allegations against R. Kelly won't be required to testify at the R&B singer's federal trial on child pornography and trial-fixing charges. Jim DeRogatis was a reporter for the Chicago Sun-Times in the early 2000s. I'm Ed Donahue.
Hello. Do you want to check your levels quickly to see how you sound?
Yeah. I just want to make sure you guys. We tried Dynavite for gut health and
I
immune
think-
support. And
I think he sounds okay. How, Jane, you think? Yeah.
Gizmo was acting like a puppy again. His coat was shinier. He had a lot less scratching.
Well, we
and
won't
shedding,
have
and he
commercials
seemed like
behind
he's
you
happy
when we're actually live. So,
Constantly.
all right. I'm excited to talk. This is Greg. Greg, this is Rob.
A little Dynavite in her food
That's Jane.
helps Bella keep her beautiful coat with no scratching or smell.
Get 10% off your next order of Dynavite nutritional supplements for dogs at Dynavite.com. Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dynavite.
Now that the school year is underway, do you know how your child is doing in math? At Mathnasium, each student is provided with a customized learning plan based on an individual assessment. They'll get the live face-to-face instruction they need, either in center or online, to accelerate their math skills and take on the rest of the school year with confidence. Join over 1 million parents who have trusted Mathnasium to give their children an edge in math. To learn more and to schedule a free consultation, visit us at mathnasium.com. Mathnasium, we're changing lives through math.
For Civic Media, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. The Wisconsin Elections Commission issued instructions yesterday to Wisconsin municipal clerks on assistance for disabled voters. The guidance states in part that the Voting Rights Act, quote, allows any voter who requires assistance by reason of blindness, disability, or inability to read or write may be given assistance. And the Americans with Disability Act protects those individuals who have a defined disability with the ADA. It has been ruled these voters may have assistance in returning their absentee ballots. A person must identify themselves as an, quote, agent and cannot be the voter's employee, an agent of their employer, or an officer or agent of the voters' union. The guidance came after a federal judge ordered the WEC to provide it, following a Wisconsin Supreme Court decision earlier this year not addressing disabled voters. Partly cloudy skies today with a high of 79 degrees. Clear skies this evening with an overnight low of 55 degrees. You're listening to the Shaw 101 FM WAUK 540 AM.
Long may
Well, welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin with Kristin Brey. It's Wednesday, so Greg Bach is here, and it is also National Beer Lovers Day. And this state has a very long history of loving beer, making beer, and it is finally memorialized in one of the properties of the Wisconsin Historical Society, Old World Wisconsin, which I got to visit over the summer, and it was the whole place is awesome, but specifically their new brewing experience is very cool. And so what better way to talk about National Beer Lovers Day in an academic fashion than to invite the brewing experience coordinator at Old World Wisconsin, Rob Novak, to come talk to us about the history of Wisconsin beer making. Rob, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. We just wrapped up our first summer season, so there's plenty to talk about.
Absolutely. So I guess for people who have not seen it yet, for phase one, because there's multiple phases of the brewing experience that's going to happen at Old World Wisconsin, but what opened this year?
So this year's the brew house itself. That was the first, it's the first new building on site in almost 10 years. And it's kind of the anchor of the brewing experience. So the brew house itself, which is really, it's kind of I consider it a fancy barn with a couple of big fireplaces and plenty of room for us to put our equipment and do all sorts of brewing, but also have some pretty cool events. That is open. It was open all summer. Now it's open on the weekends. So we brew, ferment, package, and we have samples of our beer along with partner beers and pretzels and things like that for folks to purchase in addition to the samples.
Well, and that's what's really cool is that you literally were making a batch of beer almost every day, right?
Yeah, we brewed. Our mission was to brew every day that we were open as sort of a demonstration for our guests, and that turned into, I called it brewing boot camp this summer because we had to learn our equipment, learn our space, figure out historic recipes along with techniques, and then summer fermentation is not really something that would have been done historically, so we were fighting that kind of anachronistic angle because that's when we're open. So we had to ferment beer in the summer with no temperature control. So a lot of puzzles, a lot of mysteries that we're trying to solve.
Absolutely. And so for someone who is a novice to beer, which I would say I am, but Greg actually works at Lakefront Brewery. And if someone would know how beer is made today, what are some of the biggest differences between the style of beer that you all are imitating, replicating, demonstrating? I don't know exactly what the right word is, but it's basically, it's from 1856-ish.
Yeah, 1840s to 1900. So there's this range of technologies that were really invented between 1840 and 1900, and different breweries had access to them at different times, but the farmhouses wouldn't have had access to much of that at all. So our concept this summer was really to become like beer archaeologists, like doing experimental archaeology with what we could find from Wisconsin's past. So, beer itself hasn't really changed much. We don't know what it tasted like, and sadly, we never will, because we can't replicate like the exact malt that they were using or the exact yeast. In a lot of cases, we don't know what yeast they were using. So we won't know exactly how it tasted, but the closest we can get is trying to replicate techniques and then really letting the beer happen in an environment that was similar to what they had, and then go from there. And it's been a lot of problem solving, and I probably think that's in line with what settlers in Wisconsin would have faced, because they would have shown up, started a farm, and then maybe wanted to brew. They would have brewed with what they had, equipment wise and ingredient wise, and maybe the first batch, the first 5 batches, the first 10 batches might not have turned out. So they would have had to kind of tinker with things and really figure out, okay, this is how we're going to do it over the course of probably several brewing seasons. So we kind of gave ourselves some leeway this first season with, okay, we're not going to make beer that people are familiar with as far as carbonation levels. Craft breweries have gotten so good at creating a consistent quality product in our area that, folks aren't going to get that same experience when they come here. It's going to be, we'll have some batches that turn out really, really good. And we've had a few, and then we'll have some that need to evolve from where they start. So, the process, the main steps and the main ingredients are essentially the same. It's just that the big difference is probably equipment, I would say. Like that's our main thing, where we'll ask local breweries like, hey, like, can you help us? Like, do you have any ideas? And they'll look at what we're using and they'll say, yeah, no, we've never used that before.
Yeah, like this. I don't
get a computer.
I don't recognize this tool.
I try to track the batches on a computer with software. I don't know if you guys can hear. I have a cricket in here with me. So.
We do. I was wondering what that was. I was like, every time Rob starts talking, I'm like, why? What is? There's a cricket in the brew house.
Yeah, it's been in here a while, and it's a very, very loud cricket.
It's so perfect. It's a wonderful atmosphere behind you, Rob. It really is. It just fits in with the whole.
We just need an old timey farmer to walk past you with a pitchfork and look at him like, what is this technology?
I can arrange for that to happen.
Yeah, I'm sure you could.
We're talking to Rob Novak, who's the brewing experience coordinator at Old World, Wisconsin, about the new exhibit that premiered this year, which was experiential. Yes, thank you. Don't give me that look, Greg. Experiential, which everything at Old World, Wisconsin is like that. It's like being able to literally most of the buildings there. I think this new construction of the brew house is one of the only things that hasn't been excavated from a part of Wisconsin and carefully moved to Old World, Wisconsin, basically untouched as a 1848 Finnish farmhouse, or all of these different things. Is when you look at the different buildings that are there, it says what part of the state they were in, likely what immigrant population built it, and it's so cool. And that was one of the things, not with the phase one of the brew house that is a new building, but you guys did excavate a old bar, right? That's going to likely be open next summer.
Yeah, the tavern. So Whitnable's Tavern was moved to the site last year, and it's from Old Ashippun, Wisconsin, and it was a small rural Wisconsin tavern that operated from, I think, 1906 through 1987. And the family that owned it all those years closed it up and left it. I mean, pretty much, in 87, it probably hadn't been renovated since the 40s or 50s. So we're in the process. We sliced it up like a cake and brought it here on 3 trucks. We built a new foundation for it, and we're in the process of renovating the exterior. And next year, it's probably going to take all of next year to renovate the interior to how it looked in 1934, so just after Prohibition. So it most likely won't be open as an experience next season, but part of that is because it will tie into our new beer garden, which will be directly behind it. So we need to also design an egress and some sort of extension on the back of the tavern to get people from the tavern into the beer garden, which will all be done at the same time. So, we have another season to experiment with beer. We have a lot of plans for how we want to kind of expand our program in the brew house, but we'll be able to see the tavern come to life over the course of next year.
Rob, I have a question for you. Working at the brewery, you get a lot of would-be, wannabe know-it-alls and beer experts who come through, and you try to talk to them during tour, and they're like, well, actually, or you think, no, what it really is, they try to lay down their expertise on you. Do you get people coming through who try to tell you how it is, even though they don't understand that this is a process from 170 years ago?
Very few. We do get some. I tell them that they should come volunteer, help me brew. And we've gotten very little of that. We've mostly gotten people who randomly worked at a brewery in Germany in the 60s or 70s and had to line barrels with pitch back when they were still doing that. And we get stories like that from people. And the homebrewers kind of back off because the way we're doing this is kind of the opposite of how they brew, because they try to control every aspect of the environment while they're brewing. And here I can't control much of it, so I tend to not worry about it. So I think it kind of is almost I don't want to say intimidating, but it's like, it takes them a minute to realize, oh, you're fermenting in those open barrels over there. And it's a 90-degree day. Well, how in the heck are you doing that? So there's like a curiosity that comes out. It's just such a different realm that I think people they don't get too defensive about their brewing. And we get some advice, and you kind of pick it, and you're like, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. I might take that advice. And there's been things we've implemented that have been like a regular or just a guest who seems to know what they're talking about, and we'll be like, yeah, let's try that. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
As you said, Rob, the process itself, though, is really pretty much the same that it's always been, right? Can you, as someone who is not a huge, I have very limited knowledge about beer, I know there's water and there's hops and there's boiling and there's sugar, so.
Yeah.
I'm wearing the shirt. It's all the ingredients.
So you got to go back thousands of years, and we don't know when beer was invented. We don't know how. It was either in like Iran or Mesopotamia or in like Egypt. We don't know, but it was somebody left some sort of fermentable sugar, a grain-based sugar out, and some wild yeast got into it and it fermented. And then that evolved into all sorts of things before the Middle Ages that were like kind of like beer, but not quite like the beer we have today, because hops weren't really used yet. And then after the Middle Ages in Central Europe, they added hops. So that's kind of the long evolution. And then you get into ales versus lagers. And lager drinkers, especially in Wisconsin, they think they're drinking like the old timey classic beer. Lagers I love lagers. I love all beer, but then you tell them, well, lagers are somewhere between 400 and 500 years old, and ales are 3,000 years old, and they kind of look at you like, oh,
you are a liar, sir.
And the Germans mastered the lager to the point where ales in Wisconsin almost went extinct. There were very few breweries making large amounts of ales, even into the 70s, 1970. So between 1870 and 1970, like ales almost went away from Wisconsin. But that's the main thing, is ales and lagers. And then the main steps, you're just trying to get the sugar out of the malted barley usually. So there's some steps involved there. You get the wort out, the sugar water, and you boil it with some hops, you ferment, and you got beer.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the upgrade on the tools and the capacity and economies of scale of how much you can make. But yeah, I would say it is so cool to check out. And so what are some of the stories as far as things you learned from this summer that you're going to change for next summer?
Well, we learned that, first of all, we need a bigger team. Just in general, to get through a full summer, because we're going to brew every day again next year. And a lot of production breweries don't brew every day. So we need a bigger team. And then we're going to really go out and explore some different styles. So what we learned was, our number one question is, what is malt? So that was a big one. So that part of the process. And then the other thing that I think I learned is, you can never, you don't know there are people out there who love beer and are passionate about beer, and they surprise you. And you're like, I wouldn't have thought that person would have come up and asked all these questions and then given some insight. And then people just come out of the woodwork to help when you do call for help. We had Randy Sprecher just show up one day and just talk to guests like all day long, and had so much fun. And like Lakefront's coming out soon. They're super excited to come out and see the space. So the enthusiasm from the brewing industry has been, it's all these competitors, right? But we're not part of that. We kind of like supersede that. So to see all those folks want to be here and not only learn from us, but teach us things has been really, really cool.
All right, well, we're going to take a break, but Rob Novak is going to be here when we come back to keep talking about the brewing experience at Old World, Wisconsin. This is Kristin Brey, and this is As Goes Wisconsin.
Join the WAUK 540 AM and 101 FM The Shaw team when we broadcast live from the Waukesha Farmers Market, beginning Saturday, June 4th and lasting all summer long. Former Waukesha Alderman Don Brown hosts This Week in Waukesha, 8 to 9 a.m. Then former U.S. Attorney James Santel launches his new Saturday morning show from 9 to 11. Raised in the Shaw with the host Joel Clayfish rounds out the Saturday morning lineup, 11 to noon. Come to the Waukesha Farmers Market for the only radio program broadcasting live from the Shaw.
Who doesn't love laser tag? iCombat gives you that and so much more. It's a real-life video game experience. iCombat's perfect for birthday parties, special events, corporate team building, or just blasting away at your friends. iCombat has $20 Thursday night specials, and kids of all ages are welcome.
What are you saying while I'm not listening?
Greg's suggestion for what we spend the entire last hour do is make fun of you.
Oh, great. I'm there for it.
For iCombat laser tag.
This local musical interlude is brought to you by Max Inc. Radio, VO5.
Let's do it on the dance floor. Let's do it how we can. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Listen to Max Inc. Radio every Saturday and Sunday, 6 p.m. to midnight. Download the podcast at maxincradio.com. We are local music.
Hey, Susan, how you doing?
I'm good, Earl. Again, I want to thank you for a wonderful show. The interesting thing is that you're now starting to give people in that part of Wisconsin some food for thought. Having him call in was wonderful. I think we all have to really work hard together to bring a lot more people in the fold.
I'm glad that gentleman called. And it's not that I'm so arrogant that I think I know everything. There's too much in the world to know and think more of myself than I should.
Here on the Shaw 101 FM and WAUK 540 AM.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin with Kristin Brey. We are here talking to Rob Novak, who is the Brewing Experience Coordinator at Old World Wisconsin. And I know a little bit more about your background because Rob and I got to meet in person when I checked out the Brewing Experience this summer. But Greg was very interested in the combination of experiences you've had to make this really fun, cool job that you have being the Brewing Experience Coordinator. So go ahead, Greg.
Well, I just wanted to know what your background was were you a brewery employee? Do you make beer? Like, do you currently home brew yourself, or is this like, I do it here at work? And like the background of you, Mr. Novak, tell us about you.
Well, from a beer perspective, I started home brewing. I was living in San Diego. So, there's a lot of beer out there, a lot of home brewing. So it's about probably 12 or 13 years ago when I started home brewing myself on a very small scale in our kitchen. And out there, it's always 75 degrees. So you can ferment in your kitchen cupboards. You don't have to worry about it. But I wanted to understand the process of beer making. So that's how I started with brewing. But I was in the theater. So I went to school out there for theater and worked in the theater professionally. So the nonprofit world is pretty familiar to me. And then when we moved back to Milwaukee, I started working in the theater. Then I worked at the public museum kind of randomly. It was a place I had gone as a kid and loved it. And so I ran their retail shops for a little while. And then I switched over to beer because a friend was opening a bar. He opened Draft and Vessel in Shorewood, and I lived across the street. So I figured if I wanted it to be a place that I wanted to go to, I maybe could just work there. And so I started there in the industry. I started as a bartender. And one thing we had to do was really educate. It's only like 8 years ago. It doesn't seem like that long, but in Shorewood, there really weren't any craft beer bars. So we had to really educate folks on the beers we were bringing in, especially the Belgian beers and the kind of weirder styles. Sours weren't really here yet as a main style. So a lot of beer education. And then Black Husky opened up, and we knew them. We had bought some beer from them for a wedding in a Pick and Save parking lot. And so we became,
as you do.
They were still way up north, so we had to meet him and buy some 6 barrels. And when they opened up in River West, I jumped on board there. So that was really my first working in a brew house experience. Tim did 99.9% of the brewing, but we would all help out. And then that's where I learned how to clean. So you'd clean kegs, you'd clean the brew house, you'd clean the bar, you cleaned everything. So a couple years at Black Husky, and then a friend was working at Raised Grain when they were expanding. So I went there and helped manage the old tap room, and then moved over to the new one. And the management side isn't my favorite side of things, but they needed a tap room manager, so I took that gig and learned a lot about what you need to run the tap room side of a brewery. I did that for a couple of years, and then went back to Draft and Vessel when they opened in Tosa to help open that place up. So a lot of team building, a lot of beer education, enough brewing experience to understand the steps and what it takes, and then a lot of experience on the front of house side. Combined with a bunch of theater stuff with volunteer experience, it kind of all fit into this job. My cousin also works here, so that she kept me informed and was pushing me to apply, and it all just kind of fit together. I'm a Milwaukee kid, a Wisconsin kid anyway, so that kind of fit in there too. And that's how I got here. It's a weird, you never know where you're going to end up, I guess, if you just do what you think you should be doing.
All those experiences add up.
Yeah, they really do. Yeah.
And Rob, you really do use a lot of volunteers. If there are people who are listening who would like to get involved and check this out, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we probably had a core of about a dozen regular volunteers, but if we brewed 70 batches this summer. So next year I'd like to go into it with a core of 60. So we don't want someone to have to volunteer every day, because nobody can do that. But if you can come out and volunteer once or twice a month and get to know the process without the pressure of having to do it weekly, that's my goal for next year. And we'll start training in April next year. So we'll do a lot of training. We'll all get on the same page, and it is a lot of fun. And it's a great way to just be out in someplace beautiful. Our view that I'm looking at now is basically the Kettle Moraine Forest. Yeah. So volunteers are always welcome.
And you have a house cricket who I think you should name Sugar.
Oh, Sugar works. Yeah, we need Sugar. Okay, we'll see. I'm surprised Sugar's still here. Sugar was here all week. So there must be something that Sugar likes over there about that.
Sugar made a home. So if you're not going to volunteer, what are some of the other events that are coming up in the fall, either with the brewing experience or at Old World Wisconsin more generally?
So Old World in general has Kids Are Free in September. So we're open Saturdays and Sundays through through that last weekend in September. Kids are free. So this past weekend, I think our attendance on Saturday and Sunday were almost the most attended weekend days of the summer.
Oh, wow.
And it was fun. It was a blast. So kids are free. The brew house will be, we'll just be brewing beer every day, but we've got some pretty good samples to tap. And since you guys visited, I mean, we've really worked hard on, carbonation, quality of the beer. We've really tried to put something out that people will at least enjoy. And we have a beer dinner. We have a lakefront beer dinner coming up at the end of the month, but I think it's sold out already. We sold out of most of our beer dinners this summer with very little marketing. It was just kind of fun. But they'll be coming out September 24th for their beer dinner, and we're working on brewing a beer for that right now. We have, I think, one spot left on the 16th of September. It's a Friday. We have a Learn to Brew Day, where you come in, you spend all day here, you get lunch, we brew a batch of beer. I think there's 5 or 6 people. It's a small group, and you get to go home with a gallon of wort and yeast, and you can ferment it, and we'll send you home with bottles, everything you need to bottle it at home.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a good way to learn the basics. I can't guarantee I can't guarantee that it'll turn out. I'm not worried about it.
Evoke confidence.
Yeah.
It will work.
Yeah, I can't guarantee that it won't be a lot of work. A lot of cleaning is the number one thing that I do here. But I think there's only one spot left in that class. So if anyone's interested, it's a fun way to learn it. And all this stuff translates to home brewing. It's just different equipment. In fact, the mash tun, I want to do a backyard brew. So I do brew sometimes at home still. In the fall, do a backyard brew and ferment it in this or mash it in this mash tun, because it's actually pretty efficient. So we might try that at home.
All right. Well, Rob, thank you so much for joining us. Definitely check out Old World Wisconsin, the brewing experience. The Wisconsin Historical Society in general is such a gem, and we're lucky to have it in Wisconsin. Thank you so much. Definitely check out the brewing experience. I can't overstate how cool it was to see our history as a state and how much it is part of the fabric of what this great state was built on. But Rob Novak, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Take care.
All right, we'll take a break, and when we come back, some Wisconsin news.
Dueling Tangents with Luke and Brian.
I'm really trying hard not to go insane from the mind screw that is this situation with the I was going to say the GAB, but now it's the WEC, which was audited by the LAB, and then it's now screwed up by the GOP, and we're all SOL. Good for us. Congratulations.
Look at all those acronyms. Yeah.
We're the winners.
Tune in for Dueling Tangents every weekday at 2.
The Devil's Advocates.
Hey, Jenny.
It's up to all of us. It's not just up to Democrats. Are we ready to rid our country of this perversion and deception? You know, are we sick of massacres at churches, grocery stores, theaters, concerts? Are we sick of adults forcing children who are raped into pregnancy? When is enough that we're going to vote out those fascists?
I'm putting you down for Caller Hall of Fame today. We have to carry these messages, even if the Democratic Party is incapable. You keep it up, sister.
Follow the Devil's Advocates on Facebook and Twitter.
You are listening to WAUK 540 AM Jackson, W226DR Waukesha, always streaming at
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. A judge in Tennessee revoked bond for a man charged with killing a Memphis woman who was abducted during a pre-dawn run near a university campus.
So I'm going to order at this time that Mr. Henderson, based upon the new charge, Mr. Henderson, we're now charged with first-degree murder.
Cleotha Abston told a Shelby County judge he prefers to be referred to as Cleotha Henderson. He's charged with kidnapping and killing Eliza Fletcher. Police are looking for a Northern California sheriff in connection with the deaths of 2 people today. Devin Williams Jr. is a deputy with the Alameda County Sheriff's Office. He is considered to be armed and dangerous. The World Health Organization says coronavirus cases worldwide fell, but warned too many people are dying from a preventable disease. Here's the AP's Sagar Magani.
The WHO's chief says weekly reported COVID-19 deaths have dropped more than 80% since February. Still,
1 person died with COVID-19 every 44 seconds.
In the U.S., CDC Director Rochelle Walensky says the daily death toll remains too high.
About 375 per day.
The White House Virus Response Chief Ashish Jha says they need to stop.
We can make deaths from this virus vanishingly rare.
Urging Americans to stay up to date on vaccines. Sagar Magani, Washington.
A closely watched experimental drug for Lou Gehrig's disease got an unusual second look from FDA regulators following intense pressure to approve the treatment for those with the fatal illness. Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping are expected to meet next week in Uzbekistan for talks that could signal warming relations between the two powers. A New York man has been arrested and charged with killing a law enforcement officer in Maryland more than 50 years ago. This is AP News.
We tried Dynovite for gut health and immune support, and after a couple of weeks, our little Gizmo was acting like a puppy again. His coat was shinier, he had a lot less scratching and shedding, and he seemed like his happy old self.
My dog smelled and scratched constantly. We bathed and sprayed her, took her to the vet, but no results. Now, a little Dynovite in her food helps Bella keep her beautiful coat with no scratching or smell.
Get 10% off your next order of Dynovite nutritional supplements for dogs at Dynovite.com. Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dynovite.
Now that the school year is underway, do you know how your child is doing in math? At Mathnasium, Each student is provided with a customized learning plan based on an individual assessment. They'll get the live face-to-face instruction they need, either in center or online, to accelerate their math skills and take on the rest of the school year with confidence. Join over 1 million parents who have trusted Mathnasium to give their children an edge in math. To learn more and to schedule a free consultation, visit us at mathnasium.com. Mathnasium, we're changing lives through math.
WAUK 540 AM, Franklin's choice for News Talk Radio. Streaming 24/7 at WAUKradio.com.
Hey everybody, I'm Joel Clayfish, and I've got a new show on WAUK 540 AM 101 FM The Shaw. It's called Raised in the Shaw with Joel Clayfish. I was born and raised in Waukesha, and you wouldn't believe what a springboard that is for a crazy exciting life. We'll talk provider lifestyle, hunting, fishing, and of course, cooking from field to table, because food's my favorite dish. We'll have local and national celebrity guests. Join us at 7 Thursdays for Raised in the Shaw. See you then.
If you think you need a home inspection, you probably do. Hi, I'm Todd Osborne of Orion Inspections. And buyers, sellers, and even flippers, I'm talking to you. Knowledge is power when it comes to real estate transactions. You'll get an image-packed, searchable, digital, printable report of the condition of the house, things to keep an eye on, any safety issues or defects, and the knowledge to make smart, informed decisions. Your instinct is telling you to get an inspection, and instincts are usually right. Learn more or schedule today at orioninspections.com.
Hey, this is Matt from Design Garden. Remember when the internet was new? Back then, you had to leave your house to start a business. Companies used to pay programmers bags of cash to get online. Now, small businesses can get online with a Facebook business page, or Squarespace, or Google My Business, or WordPress. But which tools should you use? Can you afford to go down the wrong path? Design Garden uses modern tools to build your website the right way. Find us online at design.garden. Again, that's design.garden.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Matnair with your headlines. The Waukesha Deputy Sheriff's Labor Union is launching a political action committee. This after the announcement that all 3 shifts for the Waukesha County Sheriff's Office will see staff reductions. The move designed to limit overtime and help the department hit its budget target. The Waukesha Freeman reporting the changes aimed at controlling costs took effect Monday. Without the move, the department expected to come in about $250,000 over budget this year. The union says its PAC will keep close watch over elected officials and hold them accountable for decisions impacting public safety in Waukesha County. Brewers lose to the Rockies Tuesday night in extra innings 10-7. Partly cloudy today, high 79, clear tonight, low 55. You're listening to The Shaw, 101 FM, WAUK 540 AM.
Live programming for WAUK Radio 540 AM and 101 FM is produced right in the Shaw in beautiful downtown Waukesha, Wisconsin.
The Shaw 101 FM, New Berlin's choice for News Talk Radio. Streaming 24/7 at WAUKradio.com.
To memorize your lies, I feel like I've been hypnotized.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin with Kristin Brey. It's Wednesday, so Greg Bach is here.
Pretty sure hypnoticize is not a word. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know that you're the person to judge that.
Hey, excuse me. Excuse me. Pardon me. Excuse me. I know what words mean. You might not agree with how I say them, but that does not make me wrong and does not preclude me from making judgments on what are and aren't words. Good day.
Good day to you.
You get nothing.
This is probably a good time to announce because social media
guru
Brooke has started last week. She's on her second week. So now we have a person to help us with all the tasks that need to get done to help promote the show. If you like the music that we play for our bumper music, even when they're a little goofy.
Yeah.
But if you like the music, we now have a Spotify playlist.
I'm so excited.
So on top of being able to find the show as a podcast on Spotify, you can also follow our playlist. So if you go to just search As Goes Wisconsin on Spotify, it'll pop up and all the music that we've played in September so far will be there. You can enjoy it. You can save the songs that you like.
You can avoid some.
You can avoid the songs that you're like, I never need to hear that again.
And all of my bumper music suggestions out the window again.
Producer rules, Greg. It's producer's rules.
You know what? Wednesday co-hosts over here just want to feel something. You know, it's hard making friends. At least I can share my music.
I'll see what I can do.
Oh, wow. I've never been so dusted off.
He's just going to keep sending the same list of bumper music week after week, every Wednesday until you play it.
It's going to get heavier and heavier and heavier. You got nothing right there?
I got no transition. That goes from Spotify playlist to Evers' $2 billion proposal on to spend schools. But did you have a better transition, Jane?
No, but while we were talking about all the Spotify and all of the different platforms that we're on, we are looking for suggestions for things that you would like us to talk about.
Yes. Again, this is the first week that we're 3 hours, a lot of time to fill. But also, not that I don't think that we could be creative enough to fill it, but we also want to hear from you on what do you want to hear? What stories do you want us to cover? What people do you want us to interview?
What's going on in your town that's important?
What's on your mind?
But I think we live down in southeastern Wisconsin, and so it's obviously a little bit easier sometimes to have your finger on the pulse of things that are happening here. You get more exposure to the stories that are happening here. But because this show airs in central Wisconsin, it's going to be in Madison eventually. It's going to be, I think, like across the state as we have more stations that come online. We want to make sure that we are giving love and attention and covering stories and that across the state. And so you can check out, posted on all of our social media right now is a link to a Google form where you can tell us what you want us to cover and any ideas that you have or guests you want to suggest, or you can always send us an email at asgoeswisconsin@gmail.com. But now we will transition to the news from yesterday, which is this news? I don't know.
It's not new. I mean, it's not.
So
that's my thought.
I didn't talk about it yesterday. It was headlines across in education and everything. We are in the middle of a very contested, very close gubernatorial race between incumbent Tony Evers and Tim Michels. Obviously, we hear a lot about the Senate race. If you watch any kind of television, you know this for sure because every other commercial is a political ad.
Yep.
But yesterday, Governor Evers at a Milwaukee school announced what his plan would be were he to be elected again, which would be a $2 billion education plan that focuses on literacy, mental health, and staff shortages in the K through 12 schools. And, as we talk about the different referendums that are happening in 50 different school districts across the state because they need more money, this is obviously a part of public funding that has not kept up with inflation, not even record inflation that we're seeing now, literally hasn't kept up with inflation since 2009. We have teacher burnout, not unlike the nurse burnout that we're going to talk about in the next half hour. But the reason why I say, is this news, is because it's a lot of ifs for this to even happen.
Yeah, there's two big ifs.
One, Tony Evers has to get reelected.
And two, he has to get past the Republicans in the State House, which, come on. This is a $2 billion boost to education spending. Right now, if you cup your hand to your ear and you listen towards the west, you can hear Robin Voss laughing hysterically right now. Because that's what he's doing. It's an evil laugh because he is evil. I said it. But yeah, those are the two huge ifs. I mean, we have $5 billion. I mean, honestly, like I mentioned, you guys were talking about this like 2 weeks ago, and I chimed in on the Zoom watching it. I'm really surprised that this state has $5 billion in surplus, because every time we get a surplus, they're like, give it back to the people, send it in a tax credit, give it a rebate. Like literally, like, we gave it back to the people. Cool, you gave me $75. Thanks a lot.
Well, that's because we don't make that much money.
True. Very true.
If you make a lot of money, that's a lot. It's all percentages. So you got a lot more.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there is the There was the home credit where it stretched from $13 to $110. There was the parenting credit a few years after that, which was, I think it was $100 in the long run. They're like, cool, I can buy diapers once. Like, we have a $5 billion surplus. Yes, spend on education. It won't make you look bad. Just pass it. Come on, seriously. I get so angry about this topic because you get, like, in the article, you get these people on the right who are saying things like this. I mean, is it a campaign ploy? Yes, it is. He's in an election right now. He's not as popular as I think he'd like to be, and he wants to take big swings. That's commendable for politicians, especially when it comes in terms of education. That's about, especially including mental health care and just making sure classes stay small, making sure we have good paid teachers, we have appreciated teachers, and the kids are taken care of. It's not we're going to spend $100 million on school choice because that's how you do it. And then they say the schools are crumbling, and that's not a fix. That's a Band-Aid. That doesn't even always work either. So yeah, I think, is it news? No, mostly he's making a big election announcement, but it'll be news if it goes through.
It certainly would be news if it goes through. But I always thought about this when we have divided government, the reporting that happens on things in the Capitol, even in not an election year, and whether that's for the sake, because we're in Wisconsin and our divided government is a Republican-held legislature and a Democrat in the governor's office, and these bills would pop up that a Republican assembly rep or state senator would propose. It would get a hearing, it would pass, and then it would ultimately be vetoed. And the discretion, and I think whether it's Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, WPR, people the ones who have an entire beat and a reporter their whole job is covering these things, sure, they should certainly write about it. But I was always thinking through my discretion, whether it's making a TikTok and now it's talking about on the show, is it valuable to know that these things even get proposed, even if they have no chance of ever passing, so long as we have divided government? Or is it kind of just like, well, that's just wish casting, so on with my day?
I think it's important. I think it's important for them to be proposed. I think that's also very important for people to know, because it can drum up support. It can get people interested in voting. I mean, I think that if Tony Evers gets reelected, he will try to push this through. This will be his Build Back Better, if you will.
It will be what he puts in his
budget. Yeah.
And then it'll be the legislature's budget, just like there was last year.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be some reconciliation because we have to have some kind of budget. We can't just have them in a stalemate.
Yeah.
So certainly I would believe that this is part of his budget. It's just how much of this would ever actually be adopted. And so what this becomes is just a signal of, this is what I would like to do.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, if he gets reelected, unfortunately, what it feels like is the biggest reason to reelect him is so he can continue to play goalie against other bills that I would assume a lot of people who are listening to don't like.
Yeah.
Versus actually getting his priorities done, especially once ARPA money is gone.
Which is they said what, September 2024, I believe.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just have to believe you. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're very right. I think you're incredible. I think you're correct. But I do think it's important to make these big swings, to announce these big swings, because it can drum up support. It can get people excited. I think 9 people out of 10 understand that Tony Evers is up against such an incredible opposition in Madison that they might see it as like wishful thinking or wish casting, as you said. But I think it's important to do these things because I think it can make people excited. And I think that's important. And at the end of the day, know that there is somebody on your side. That sounds like the old days. That sounds like the old days when I worked in campaigning, but it really is true. Like you want to believe that some of these individuals are on your side and they're working for I mean, maybe he's saying he's like I'm proposing this much, but I know I only need this much, so I'm going over so I can negotiate it down.
Got it. All right. Well, we didn't solve anything. And when we come back, I need to actually understand what's happening with Don't Worry, Darling, because it's everywhere, all over my Instagram, all everywhere. This film.
I'll explain it.
Okay, Greg knows what's happening in the pop culture world. We'll be back. This is As Goes Wisconsin.
And then that magic man, he come to town. Woo-wee, he done spun my head all round. He said recess is in session, 2 and 2 make 5. And now, baby, oh, I'm alive. Oh, yeah, I'm alive. And if you wanna be a teacher's man, well, baby, you just better forget it. Rock got no reason, rock got no rhyme. You better get me to school on time. Ah, yeah! Yeah!
The greatest radio show ever could be your greatest advertising investment ever. Partner with the Devil's Advocates and activate our loyal, educated, and engaged audience today. In-show interviews and sponsored special events considered across Wisconsin. Affordable digital and terrestrial ads available in Chicago and Minneapolis and directly on the Devil Radio app. Make a deal with the Devils and get the Devil's Advocates bump to your bottom line. Call or text 844-967-2789 today.
Hey, it's Kristin Brey from As Goes Wisconsin, which is now a radio show. That's right, I'm taking the same fun and uncomplicated approach to talking about state and local news to the airwaves. Starting July 5th, me and my friends from all parts of the state and all different backgrounds will break down the Wisconsin headlines in a way that informs, entertains, and hopefully makes you laugh. Tune in to As Goes Wisconsin with Kristin Brey, Monday through Friday from 12 p.m. to 2 on 101 FM The Shaw and WAUK 540 AM.
Hey, it's Pizza Box Mike. I've got a show outside the Pizza Box. Be sure to listen on Saturdays at noon on Devil Radio. There is a reason why they won't let me on Facebook anymore.
Maybe you need a more muscular voice on talk radio. Maybe you need Matt Flynn direct. But Moscow Mitch just said that if the Republicans win the 2022 elections, he will block any Supreme Court nominee Biden puts up. So word to Justice Breyer, you idiot, retire, get out of there, open it up so Biden can put in a Supreme Court appointment. Do it nicely, retire. We'll give you a gold watch, retire.
Matt Flynn Direct airs weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m.
Cut you down.
What grows in the forest? Our imagination and our family bonds. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
All right, so how's your pop culture awareness?
As a 44-year-old man living in America right now, I have to say that my pop culture awareness is definitely limited to this topic we're about to talk about.
How's your pop culture awareness?
Not nearly as good as it used to be.
Brooke, resident young person, how is your pop culture awareness?
I have no idea what's going on. I've heard like bits and pieces of certain things happening, but I don't know anything.
Okay, so what she's referring to more specifically is the fact that I don't like most of the stuff that I follow I don't follow People Magazine or Us or any of these dedicated celebrity accounts. And yet I feel like I can't escape hearing and seeing headlines and memes and videos about Don't Worry, Darling.
Yeah.
Am I alone? Jane, you've seen nothing.
I have seen nothing.
Have you seen, Greg, have you seen anything
Oh,
about this
absolutely.
movie?
I didn't see the movie. I just know about all the controversy.
God damn.
Oh my good gravy. So here's the deal. Here's the thing. I just want to put this out here right now.
That was your fault.
That was now I'm being blamed.
All right, this is gonna get chaotic.
Let's pretend it never happened.
That never happened.
What
We're gonna
happened? I
keep
have no
going.
idea what happened.
Kristin, Don't
Kristin-
Worry, Darling
Yeah.
is a new movie
Yeah.
directed by Olivia Wilde,
Yep.
who is different than Olivia Munn,
Yep.
which was the ex-girlfriend of Aaron Rodgers. Olivia Wilde, different person, used to be engaged to
Jason Sudeikis.
Jason Sudeikis,
You're gonna
not to
call
be
him-
confused with Ted Lasso. Charming man. And beautiful woman, been an actress and in Hollywood for a very long time. And there's all this controversy around this movie. And basically there was, and I just keep seeing things pop up, and like headline after headline is conspiracy theories and different, someone like, I see sports guys putting memes out of Harry Styles spitting on Chris Pine, and Shia LaBeouf was involved in some
Okay.
way. And so all of these different things. And so I'm going to explain the best I can. And in the 6 minutes before we have a break, and then we're going to talk about something much more serious, which is the pending nurse strike, and have actually real nurses come on and talk about real things, because most of the time we do want to talk about real things on this show, but every once in a while we take a breather to make fun of celebrities. So this is what I understand this story to be. Olivia Wilde, director of this movie, on set, originally Shia LaBeouf, notorious kind of borderline crazy person, was originally cast in the main lead role. He leaves the film. She says she fired him. He then has the receipts to say that he was not fired. He quit because there was not enough rehearsal time. Fast forward, Harry Styles, super mega star, maybe not such a good actor, but very good artist, gets cast in replace of Shia LaBeouf. Somehow, somewhere in there, Harry Styles and Olivia Wilde fall in love. She's still kind of technically with Ted Lasso, aka Jason Sudeikis. They end their relationship. Florence Pugh, other lead of the movie, who is dating someone named Zach Braff, who used to be on Scrubs, is very good friends with Jason Sudeikis.
They've broken up since.
So they've since broken up. Florence Pugh, very upset at this flirtation / affair that is happening. So she has not been very cooperative potentially with the promotion of the film. And this is all come to a head at the Venice Film Festival, I think.
Yes, it was.
And where they're all there and everyone's mad at each other. And supposedly Harry Styles spit on Chris Pine, but then now they're denying that even happened. And it's just celebrity chaos. How did I do?
I would say 9.5 out of 10. Just that 0.5 is that X factor that no one really knows about.
Fair.
That was a great recitation of information there. Good job. That's everything I've heard. Everyone keeps on saying the phrase, he has the receipts. And I'm like, can we stop saying that? It just sounds ridiculous. But also, here's what I think. It's like you have three stories happening here. The main story is Olivia Munn and Harry Styles getting all
Wild.
kissy. What did I say? Olivia.
Munn.
Dang it.
Who's
See?
now with
John Mulaney.
John Mulaney.
They have a baby. They have a baby. Oh my God, they have a baby. So you have O Wild and you have H Styles having some kissy face, holding hand time. Florence upset, not of the machine, but just Florence Pugh.
Pew pew.
She does her thing, gets upset. But then you have like the Shia LaBeouf side thing, which I feel like is like, first of all, I don't know why you would lie about firing an actor. I mean, if you're wrong, like that doesn't make sense to me. It does not, like, I would never.
She's only been, this is the only time, she's the only second movie she's ever directed.
Yeah.
And if she wants to be taken seriously as a director, potentially having someone quit your film isn't a very good look. So maybe she and her people spun the story. And now there is, because it's not like he's a trusted narrator either.
No, not at all. But my thought is, if you fired me from, if I left your movie, Kristin, you're making a film, and I've left it because of no rehearsal or whatever reason, and there's perfect explanation and evidence of that, why would you say to your people, "That's a great idea, I will lie"? Because I'm just gonna come back and be like, "No, no, you didn't. I did this way." You know what I mean? Like that. So that doesn't make sense to me. So there's that.
I mean, is there any part of this story that really makes sense to
Well, here's the thing that
besides
really,
the fact that Olivia Wilde is beautiful, so I would understand, and Harry Styles is also beautiful. So
here's what I don't
the
understand.
attraction.
But here's what I don't understand is I think this is what I'm getting at. Everyone's explained the Shia LaBeouf thing and O Wild. Everyone, the O Wild, H Styles, F Pew thing has been understood. Why the static against Chris Pine? Chris Pine has had like
National treasure.
Well, he's wonderful. He's my Captain Kirk, if you will. Don't get mad at me, people. I think the only reason why the Styles might be mad at him is because some of these interviews where they're asking Styles about his thoughts on the movie and the acting, it seems like he's overcompensating for the fact that even like Dunkirk, he did not get good reviews. He has not gotten good reviews for this. This movie is not being well received, and that's like on top of the controversy. So I think if anything, the controversy could help people go to the movie, but I think at the end of the day, critics are just like, it's okay. It's not great. And so I'm just wondering why would anybody be mad at Chris Pine?
I don't know. This has been our short take on pop culture. We don't do a lot of it here. Sometimes we just try to flex what we do now.
Yeah.
So whether or not you take your pop culture trivia from us, probably not a smart idea. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about the UW nurse strike, which is way more important.
A progressive voice from Beaver Dam to Kenosha. WAUK 540 AM. Always streaming at WAUKradio.com.
Man, I love my kids so much. I once sat for 3 hours in the cold rain to watch her soccer team lose by 18 goals.
I love my kids so much, I once used a tube to suck snot out of her stuffed nose at 3 a.m.
You win.
Love your kids? Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat. From toddlers to tweens, visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Hello, Will. Sarah, are you here as well?
Yep, I am.
Great. Will, can you say your last name for me?
Yeah, Kiesling.
Kiesling. All right, so Sarah Quinn and Will Kiesling. Perfect. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
So this is my co-host on Wednesdays, Greg Bach. Jane Matnair is our producer. All three of us, I'll lead the questions, but both of them will chime in probably between the two segments. But when we come back, we go until about 12:48. So this is the longer segment where we'll get into most of the meat of the issue at hand, and then we'll have a 2-minute break, and then we'll bring you guys back, probably ask to where people can get more information or where you would like, if there's any kind of call to action, and then we'll let you go.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We got up every day and went to work full of hope, for real, full of purpose, and excited about the possibility before us. There are few people I've ever known with more integrity, decency, and moral courage than Barack Obama.
Obama praised the president.
Thanks to your decency and thanks to your strength. Maybe most of all, thanks to your faith in our democracy and the American people. The country's better off than when you took office, and we should all be deeply grateful for that.
It's Mrs. Obama's first visit to the White House since leaving in 2017. Barack Obama visited in April. I'm Ed Donahue.
We tried Dynovite for gut health and immune support, and after a couple of weeks, our little Gizmo was acting like a puppy again. His coat was shinier, he had a lot less scratching and shedding, and he seemed like his happy old self.
My dog smelled and scratched constantly. We bathed and sprayed her, took her to the vet, but no results. Now, a little Dynovite in her food helps Bella keep her beautiful coat with no scratching or smell.
Get 10% off your next order of Dynovite nutritional supplements for dogs at Dynovite.com. Happier, healthier with every bite. Over 1 million pets helped with Dynovite.
Now that the school year is underway, do you know how your child is doing in math? At Mathnasium, each student is provided with a customized learning plan based on an individual assessment. They'll get the live face-to-face instruction they need, either in center or online, to accelerate their math skills and take on the rest of the school year with confidence. Join over 1 million parents who have trusted Mathnasium to give their children an edge in math. To learn more and to schedule a free consultation, visit us at mathnasium.com. Mathnasium, we're changing lives through math.
For Civic Media, I'm Jane Matnair with your headlines. Lieutenant Governor and Democratic U.S. Senate candidate Mandela Barnes says he did not appear with President Biden Monday at Milwaukee's Labor Fest because he was in Racine taking groceries to UAW workers who've been on strike for the past few months. Barnes' absence called out by some Republicans on social media. An August Marquette University Law School poll found 56% of Wisconsinites have an unfavorable view of President Biden, 40% favorable. Tuesday, during a campaign stop with union workers, Barnes criticized GOP incumbent Senator Ron Johnson for not doing more to persuade Oshkosh Corporation to keep 1,000 new jobs in Wisconsin. Those instead went to the company's plant in South Carolina. Partly cloudy today, high 79, clear tonight, low 55. You're listening to The Shaw, 101 FM, WAUK 540 AM.
Roll out the stretcher and make me feel better. What is bad? Don't be glad. What is worse?
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin with Kristin Brey. After we had a little fun in the last segment, we're going to talk about something much more serious. Jane and I yesterday talked about the resurgence of labor unions and coming off of Labor Day, coming off of Joe Biden, President Joe Biden being here for Labor Fest. And one of the developments that happened during Labor Fest was what's been going on as far as the UW nurses, one, voting to be a union, and now also giving notice to the UW system and that they are going to go on strike. And so it feels like there's moving parts to this, and wanting to make sure that we get the full story out. We actually are joined today by two nurses who are involved in the negotiations, in what's been happening in the development. And so Sarah Quinn and Kiesling.
Yes, that's perfect.
Got it. Yes, perfect. Thank you for joining us today. And so I think my first question is kind of bring us up to speed of how we got to where we are right now.
Well, do you want to take this?
Yeah, sure. So over the last, so kind of going all the way to the beginning. So in 2014, our union was no longer recognized due to Act 10. There was some language in there that made it that UW didn't have to recognize our nurses union, from my understanding. And so they stopped recognizing it around, I think it was 2014. And then kind of throughout that time, I know a lot of nurses have seen a lot of decline in, safe staffing and retention of nurses, a lot of concerns that, affect patient care, especially. So about 3 years ago, there was a group of nurses that tried to kind of explore like how we could get our union back and what that would look like. And more recently, ever since, this summer, when attorney Josh Call kind of laid out legal opinion about, there was some debate about whether UW could recognize us as a union legally. If they couldn't, they argued that they couldn't, but attorney Josh Call said basically in clear writing that they can voluntarily recognize us. So ever since then, we've been kind of gathering up people to try and see if they will voluntarily recognize our union. And unfortunately, so far that has not come to pass. So,
but as of this year, as of just last month, correct? And so the 99% of the nurses in the UW nurses have voted to, one, unionize, but also then to also go on strike.
I think on that, just a little bit of clarification.
Okay.
When nurses signed strike cards, I think it was a year or so ago, 15,000 nurses signed strike cards, which was a really large percentage of
1,500.
Yeah. 1,500.
Oh, you're good.
Sorry, I was thinking of the strike in Minnesota. But and then we have, without giving numbers, we have a fair amount of nurses that recently who are for the union, who voted 99% in favor of a strike, because just the management has no interest in talking to us. And that's where that 99% is.
And so what are the clarifications as far as, because I think that's what, at least when I'm trying to read up on this, that there is, like you said, there's two different issues at hand. There's one is, are you a recognized union that can strike? And then there is also the pending strike that is planned for later this month. And so what is the negotiating chip, or what levers do you guys have to force the issue? And is it an issue that if you're not a quote unquote recognized union?
Per the union lawyers who have looked into this extensively, we are not a recognized union yet at UW, because they don't legally have to recognize us. But we have a right to organize and to strike and to take labor actions under Wisconsin state law. So even though we are not yet a recognized union, we have a right to take actions and to organize. Whether or not the hospital is willing to voluntarily recognize us, which they could do, that's really why we're doing this. And and the hospital continues to say that, as Will was saying, that it's not legal to recognize us. But not only Josh Call, but also I believe it's the Legislative Council. I actually printed out their opinion and read it. The hospital continues to reference that, saying that it says it can't recognize us, but that updated actually also says they could voluntarily recognize us. So it's not just Josh Call. There's other information out there supporting that the hospital could voluntarily recognize a union.
Got it.
I am so confused, and I don't want you to try and speculate and get into the heads of some of these hospital leaders, but we don't have enough nurses in the pipeline the way it is. The last 2 years have been hell on earth, certainly for people in the medical industry. If I am running a hospital, I have to recognize that without a nursing staff, what is going to happen to these patients? This isn't something you can roboticize. This isn't something you can farm out to others. What is the reluctance to even sit down and talk with you as a nurses union?
I think that's something that we're trying to figure out as well. I think, we want, a collaborative partnership with, with our management. So, that's been a little frustrating for us, where it's been, they've claimed, they will not do anything that is, possibly illegal. And that is kind of their stance. So because of some of the lawyers that they've had, anti-union lawyers who have kind of given them opinions of maybe workarounds or hiding behind Act 10, they've kind of not even really come to the table with us, because they're like, oh, well, it would be illegal anyway, so sorry. Yeah, so that's pretty much where we've gotten with our conversations for most of this process. Yes, I don't know if Sarah wants to add anything, but that seems to be kind of our big roadblock.
I'm definitely with Will. Like you said, I don't really understand it. It hasn't made sense to me for a long time. And I really, really had held out hope till very recently that they were going to talk to us, because it just makes sense. We are doing this for quality patient care for our community, to continue to be the hospital that we are, to provide the care that we want to. And it's getting so hard. So I had just assumed eventually that they would want to meet with us, that we're saying, this is how we feel like we can provide that care, ensure that. And, we're with each other every day. We care for patients. Not having our voice at the table just is so hard for me to understand that. And I don't know their reasons. I've written many letters. I've been assured, I just don't know. I've never gotten an answer that made any sense to me.
Yeah.
Personally.
they like to bring up, we have something called shared governance, which is, nurses work very hard in the shared governance system to kind of present issues that their units are facing, that the whole hospital is facing. And that's all well and good, but at the end of the day, there's no real teeth behind it and there's no leverage, so these, all these nurses are working super hard to try and present issues that need to get solved. And unfortunately, the administration, at the end of the day, they have the call of what they want to do. And sometimes they'll present people with the shared governance councils with like, this is what we're going to do. How can we make this work best? And that's kind of how it's presented instead of, having us at the table and talking as, as collaborators.
So as far as what the press release said and what's been reported on is that the three main reasons for the strike is quality patient care, safe staffing, and the recognition of your union. And so the last one feels pretty straightforward as far as we want our union to be recognized. In more concrete terms, what does improving quality patient care and safe staffing actually look like? What is that in more detail that you're asking for? And what makes you believe that they're in the position that they could actually fulfill that if they would come to the table and talk about it?
I know for me, it's we have lost a lot of experienced nurses and we are still losing them. There are things that I think they could work with us to make sure we're not losing those nurses who are training the new nurses. We have too many new nurses working without senior nurses. And there are things a hospital could do to make that better. And frankly, it's gotten normal for us to work above what we call our matrix, the number of patients that we carry on any given day. And I know personally, I have left some days just demoralized because I feel like I know I haven't given good enough care because I just had too much to do. And those are things that I think can be changed. And I think they can be part of that. There is a crisis in healthcare. There's a national nursing crisis in general, but there are things that can be done to make it better. But they're not even talking to us about our ideas about how to solve this. And we talk about this stuff among ourselves all the time. And I feel like we're just being kept in lean staffing and kept in a model that's just not supporting the heart of the hospital and what we do. And it's just becoming a little too much.
Because, I think that's someone who hears this on a headline basis, because I don't work in a hospital. I've never worked in a hospital. That's also what I feel like we hear is there's a nursing shortage. It feels like there's a shortage in everything, whether it's teachers, nurses, a lot of our frontline workers who do hard work to serve people. A lot of people have gotten burned out. They're at the end of their rope. They figure there's other professions they can pursue where they feel more appreciated, better paid. And yet this feels like a breaking point because we need, I think the little I do know about working in a hospital is that the heart of the hospital is the nurses and the care that is provided. And for so many patients that is your main point of contact is usually the nurse, not the doctor. So if you're just joining us, we are talking to UW nurses Will Kiesling and Sarah Quinn about the union they're trying to form and also the pending strike, because you've announced that it's going to happen from September 13th to September 16th, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the side of the patients, knowing that one of the reasons that you are striking is to try to have better quality patient care, what happens to the patients in those 3 days?
Yeah. I think that that's a real concern if you aren't following what we've been doing. But first of all, the main reason that we're doing this is patient care. I work on the pediatric side of things, so I work with sick kids and their families, and my unit takes care of a lot of kids with complex care needs and a whole bunch of stuff that requires, a lot of staffing, and that we haven't had. So, I think, for patients, those 3 days, part of why we gave a 10-day notice last Friday. And part of that reason is so that, we make sure that somebody is there taking care of the patients, whether that is a travel nurse or nurse managers who typically aren't on the floor. We did that to make sure, that's part of the labor process, to make sure that somebody is in the door taking care of those patients those days, while we are fighting for them outside.
Got it. All right. Well, we're going to go a quick break, but we'll bring you guys back after the break to continue having the conversation about the UW nurse strike. All right. This is it. As goes Wisconsin.
Don't be glad. What is worse? I'm a nurse.
Hi, everyone. Listen to my show, The Matt McNeil Show, weekday afternoons at 3 p.m. on the Shaw 101. 1 hour every weekday where we'll talk all sorts of things like politics, especially with what's going on this election season, plus a lot of other things, too. Parenting, the arts, religion, music, beer. If it matters to Wisconsin and Minnesota, we'll talk about it. Phone calls are welcome at 952-946-6205 for 1 hour each day. Come see the train chimp, The Matt McNeil Show, with the aggressive progressive Matt McNeil, 3 p.m. weekday afternoons right here on the Shaw 101.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Join the WAUK 540 AM and 101 FM The Shaw team when we broadcast live from the Waukesha Farmers Market, beginning Saturday, June 4th and lasting all summer long. Former Waukesha Alderman Don Brown hosts This Week in Waukesha, 8 to 9 a.m. Then former U.S. Attorney James Santel launches his new Saturday morning show from 9 to 11. Raised in the Shaw with the host Joel Clayfish rounds out the Saturday morning lineup, 11 to noon. Come to the Waukesha Farmers Market for the only radio program broadcasting live from the Shaw.
My husband said to give our house more curb appeal, so I started painting. Then I went on Google and looked up the meaning of curb appeal. It said to make it more nicer. So I called Replacement Window Center, and they put in new replacement windows.
Get free installation and 0% financing for 18 months. Free installation and 0% financing. Hurry, call now.
Replacement Window Center. Our name says it all.
When I'm going on strike till my baby comes back.
Welcome back to As Goes Wisconsin with Kristin Brey. We are joined by Will Kiesling and Sarah Quinn, who are UW nurses who are involved with, have been involved in the attempted negotiations that is now leading to a strike from September 13th to September 16th. And so as far as those of us who are only have read about this and have seen headlines, maybe haven't even read the articles, what is the message you want the average Wisconsin resident to know about the conditions that you're working in and also what you're fighting for?
I guess I really, really just want people to hear that this is, it really, you go into nursing and you get through the last 2 years because you love this, because this is what you want to do and because you want to care for people. We are doing this because we just want to make sure that people are getting the level of care that they should have, for the patients we care for directly, for our community, and that our fellow nurses are getting the support they need, to continue to provide that care. This is a really hard thing for us to do. I had to think long and hard about it. I'm nervous about it. There's so much conflict inside, but I feel like this is something I absolutely have to do to make sure that we are able to provide the care we need. If I did not feel that, I wouldn't do this. And if you ask my colleagues, my fellow nurses, that is really across the board what it is about for us. Because like I said, I have left work before where I had a day where I went back to the hospital, and when I pulled up to the ramp, I just cried because I was like, I cannot go in there and do it, because I had a patient the day before that I'm a psychiatric nurse. I had been so busy putting out fires that I had not noticed that her day was getting worse. I didn't have time to do my check-ins and to just be seeing how she was and what she needed. And it was a bad day for her. And I was not there for her. And, when people come in the doors, we say, we are going to take care of you. We are going to be there for you. And when you leave, knowing that something happened that you can't 100% say wouldn't have been your fault, but you just know in your gut shouldn't have been, it's just really, really hard, because these are people, these are their lives. And so, sorry, I don't need to get emotional about
No,
this.
you're making me emotional.
So I don't want that to happen. And I don't want people to not get the care they need. That for me is why I'm doing this.
Again, I am dumbfounded and so angry, because if patients start dying because these hospitals do not have the correct amount of staff to take care of things, this is not a good look as for a business. And again, I fail to wrap my head around the logic in allowing your patients not to receive the best level of care when that is what you do. That is the service you provide. And we talk about the cost of healthcare and all of those things. If it's not going to the nurses and it's not going to the orderlies, and there is money within the healthcare system, is it just all in the fountains on the grounds? What are they doing with all this cash?
The fountains on the ground. All right. Well, because we don't have a lot of time left, what information, where anyone who's listening, if they want to get more information, or how else can they support the strike?
Oh yeah. Well, there's probably going to the SEIU.org website and just trying to look for us and look for UW nurses. You can definitely get a lot of good updates there. They're the union that is helping us organize. We also have a hardship fund. Unfortunately, I don't have the link or anything there, but we can send that to you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's just to keep people, afloat during those 3 days. Obviously, missing work for 3 days for some people is, really tough option, financially. So any contributions would be super helpful. And then, of course, we'd love to see everybody who's available picket with us those 3 days. Come out and support your nurses so that we can help our community. So
what kind of heat can we put on our lawmakers in the lead up to this, if any?
We have a lot of good support. The other thing that might really be helpful too, if you're on any kind of social media, SEIU is all over social media. You can find links, and there is a letter that you can send in to the hospital saying that you are supporting us. I believe it's on SEIU page, but that is out there, and that more and more of our leaders hearing from the community is going to make a huge difference for us. And definitely come to the picket.
And definitely. Where is the picket?
It's going to be at several locations around the hospital. If you get to the hospital, we'll be there.
All right. Well, Will Kiesling and Sarah Quinn, good luck. Thank you for all your work. Thank you for the heart that you put into your work. I'm rooting for you, and we will keep our listeners updated as this story develops, and hopefully you are successful. So thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having us.
All right. Well, that is mind-boggling
and to hear her speak with such emotion. And it's one of those, I would never do that job. I could never, the leakage and the bodily fluids and come on. These are special human beings, though. They are. And that we can treat them with such disregard and so cavalierly is really infuriating.
It is. It is absolutely infuriating. So we will get those links after the show and get them posted, because we are going to start. Another thing that Brooke, social media manager, is in charge of is making sure that all of the things we talk about on the show make it to our website. So you can see the articles, you can find our guests, you can find all of our calls to action of how you can help, because we want to be in motion and in action and actually help instead of just complain about things.
Yes.
And so Greg Bach.
Hi.
Wednesday number 2. In perpetuity. You said a lot of words wrong. But that's okay, because now we have clips for the next time you're here.
You know what?
To make
you know
fun
what?
of
Tall potatoes here. I'm telling you right now, tall potatoes. I don't come to this party on Wednesdays, 5:40 a.m. WAUK, the Shaw. I don't come here with a closed mind like some people do. I'm looking at you, tall potatoes.
I don't have a closed mind.
You just said it like
I'm used to words being said a certain way.
Isn't that the first step of a closed mind? Opening their mouth, saying like, "I'm used to the old way of doing things. I like the old ways. Why can't I just go to an A&W root beer?" Which you can.
I can't wait for the more inventive.
Invenitive? That's
What is it? How did you pronounce it?
Innovative. Invenitive. Don't make a fool of yourself.
I can't wait for the more inventive.
Wrong again.
Innovative words that you come up with next Wednesday when you're back. Thank you for being here, Greg Bach.
Thank you for having
always
me.
Fun.
It's a joy.
Stay tuned for Dueling Tangents with Luke and Brian. This is As Goes Wisconsin. We'll see you tomorrow.